we are going to go ahead and get started. We have a long and rich program scheduled for you all today. And so I want to begin by inviting Pete Landeros of the American Indian Movement to offer us a welcome and a land acknowledgement. I'll turn it over to you, Pete.
First of all, my name is Peter Guadalupe Landeros. I'm a Pascua Yaqui Indian from Southern Arizona, but I grew up here in the state of Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, majority of my life. Land acknowledgement. We are on Piscataway land, and I want to give thanks to them as a people. Also give thanks to their hereditary chief, Mark Tyak, and give them the respect for allowing us to be here and to participate in what's going on today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so today we have the latest in our series of African Liberation Day month-long celebration. Today we will have a number of speakers who will speak to the topic of the role of women in the African Revolution today. I just want to let everyone know, I'm going to share my screen briefly, that we, as I said, we have a month-long calendar of events, and I wanted to point you all to our webpage so that you can see, if you go to A-APRP-GC.org, the homepage will take you to all of our events for today. And you should be able to, each one is hyperlinked, and the Zoom link is there. The Zoom and or some of our programs are on Africa on the Move Blog Talk Radio, but the Zoom link and or the radio link should be available there. You can see the programs that we've already hosted, and you can also see our upcoming programs, including Pan-Africanism, yes, US AFRICOM and NATO, no, US Out of Africa, Guantanamo, Cuba, and Shannon Airport, Ireland, and the Movement to Free All Political Prisoners is our next program on Tuesday, and you can see the rest of the programs there. So what we wanted to do to kick off the program today is actually begin with a film. And so we in the A-APRP-GC and the A-AWRU-GC have been working to revise our public declaration or commitment to the struggle and role of women. And as a part of that, we've been doing intense work study. And one of the things that we consumed for our work study program was this video that we're going to watch briefly, which is a video about, it's a film on Eritrean women in the struggle, in revolutionary struggle. It's about 25 to 30 minutes. We are going to play that as an opening, and hopefully when we get to our speakers and then to our Q&A, we will be able to bring the film back into the discussion. So I'll start that now.
زابيطة سوا ولا كم زجيرة الكاس سج
نتولد مستليخوس أي رخبكم
أي تخالن مولاد سي أي تخالن
نهاجر هبية أنا محسني إجاء عسلاني
مخانكوي كنت بسلنا تنزل مخانتكوي
ህዝቢ ኤርትራ አንጻር ባህሉን ልምዱን ክነሱ ከም ቅብል ወሲዱ ንጓሉ በረኻ ወፊር ዓወት ከተምጽእ ምዃና ኣሚኑ ምስ ሕዋታ ክትሳተፍ ፍቃደኛ ብምዃኑ እዩ መሰረት ሙሉእ ዓወት ኣብ ቃልሲ ተጋዳሊት ኣደ ምስቲ ኣብ ውድብ ህዝባዊ ግንባር ጸንሓ ናይ ምቅላስ መንፈስ ዘባራትዕ ባይታ እምበር ተኣምራት ክትሰርሕ ዘብቃ
እቲ ኣተሓሳስባ ትዝለበረ ድልየትና ንቃል ስምበሪ ንናሕና ዕግበት ወይ ከዓ ንናሕና ድልየታት ንኽማላእ ቦታ ንህቦ ስለዘይ ነበርና እዩ
እንታልካ ክትሓስቦ ሽዑ እኳ ብመሰረቱ ኣብ ሓንጎልካ ይተምፅኡን ኢኻ ዋላ ድሕሪኡ ሲ እዛ ቢጠ ስዋ ዋላ كم زجرة الكاس تسق دقنا كأني نحنا نايم جمرة هذا كون سلسلة زغنا خا نحنا أنت دا أقوديلنا زود بس كم بارالايز زخون عندي حقوق توجيز بارالايز مش زخون صح لك كم بارالايز زخون كويس معك
تصور أنا بعلو أزيو كبيت دستقامت أتصوقات كتري خلخي نعوم دي تقدمس ولا نتولع دي تقدم مستزنا برهناتا نعوم كترنا ممسيخي كمان نعوم كتحكمي نعوم كتعلي عندي تقندي ممسيخي ولا قواتي مولاد تدلي وتغنكو اتي مولاد سي كابتي سرحكت عنك فكدلو كابتي محكام دقل لك دلو خوي مسلا سمعك حجي نعات حرفيه
علامانا قالسي ناصنت ممصا كتقالس لك خاطمت كتقالس مزيكا قالسي جميركا امونغو قال انقفات ناي ولادن غلن غيركا انتا كوين سمعك ناخا بتودم جارجار بلالو من سي مصالو والت مص ود مص كلها تعتقاله كم معطا ولا بعنا نسدد ندينا نيرنا نعتق ندينا زلنا ግን ንስኽም ግዳልኪ ዓብ ነገር ዓብጋ ጎደል ኮይኑ ትስማዕክና እቲ ሰውራ ከምዚ ንስኻ ጎዲልካስ ብርቱዕ ሓይሊ ተጉድል ዘለኻ ኮይኑ ይስማዓካ ከም ሓቂ ኣብ ግባኤ ነይሩ ወላሂ ዝኾነስ ክትቃወም ከለኻ ሳኽቲ ትቃወምና ዕላማ ኣለካ ኣነ ሸተይን ዕላማን ክወቃዕ ኢለ ተቃወም ነይረ ምክንያቱ تحلنا زنبرة أنت خيلو كلاتنا نقارسين عودنا مرعان تندلي نيوت أنا كب تودينا كب غزانا مارج مو غزانا نحنا قلنا علامات لنا علامانا نوقع في الدلنا مرعى أبدأ وأنا ذي فقود أيقونن كل يو سلمنتاي انت إلكم أي تقاوموني لا تقاوموني كم مقوام وإذا كرداد الداد شيستا نحنا كاين مرعى إلهي كم جاء إلهي لهم بعل دالي الله يرحمه وزحت داري بومي وزحت قاومون
ولادس كم يتري أنيركي أبقى أرسي كم عنكافي نايك أرسي ندحريت زغوتت
أبتي ህዝብን ሃገርን ካብቲ ናይ ነዊሕ ዓመታት መግዛእቲ ናፃ ንምውፃእ ዋላ እታ ብተፈጥሮ ክትውንና ዝተዓደለትካን ልዕሊ ኩሉ ዝኾነትን ህይወትካ ንናፅነት ምውፋይ ከም ባህሊ ተወሲዱሉ ዝነበረ እዋን ተጋዳሊታ ድ ዋላ እኳ ኣብ ልዕሊ ብፆታ ርህርህት እንተነበረት ነቲ ብባህሪ ተዓዲልዋ ትፈሪዕ ሸላ ግን ኣይከም ባህሪኣን ስለምንታይ ግን ከምኡ ኮይና
كل خيط كل خاخ ولدي لي يكون انزخيد ويكون رأي لي يكون انزخيد ما خيدي تخينو كعلى سيدي سخيد تقال سخنتي مود أتا مستوم زلو بسقطك على ما خوق خدنا تنت كتمت سيخة تخيد
عندي تعلام عندي موت إيغاس مزعبة مرعى على ولاد أو حنقول سوينا أنا أفتي دوز أخذ الأوان حفاش الباس اللي تنوركو نمرعى بزوحي تأثير اللي مرعى سجيري ونكيده قوت خلا بنزل دوز سنيروناي قبيلي حزي أخوات نجبس لازنا مرني نبوي بزوحي تأشمو عشجيري يوم نجزنا لزوخانة تعلمه وقع سلازلوه نتمرعى خل مستدالوي أنا خدان زمرز كهمان أبد حرينات دحر جزانا زلوا قال ساعة خديناته ساعة مريح مالتي هذا أحدهم مسالكوس لك هذا كمان إذا قاكم قلتيه مستزنا بدنا عدمن سنة هاي مقامت قد ولا قطع حلوان الدين بتزقبر لي دنبر محبحب بتورنا تمسي نقد فتين انتاي كتقبر مزيك عبجه إذا تار مسخات توقس كلا أبي بتحكي كياله ناتك ملختي إسقاسي حنقول كذا لا أخك كياتا صورة مخاد
قد لي مسكت كذا تقالي سكات تسوي كانت سنة كتم صد أمر أبقد لخيرك مرأة أبقد لخيرك تولد إذا قب حنقول نايزقنا تقول نسيتكون ولا ود تبعتي وصاي تتغادلت كن اتبتي حدا متكل تبكيسا جامع خطبركت كتكيت طلع باتي زقات أما حدا كنتات بزح حقسي أيتقو مغنياتو نتي علامة كقانا دبو يوزبل وإذا ما شعون تريو سلا زلا أيتقبلو
عدمينا يخيط منبارو أين فلتني مانا تايكونا إسخا قربتة الخاسي كم زين إسخا تقايدو نتي وجب كم أخويني تسمعك
أبزي ساعات زي نتنسنا أمرو مكلاس حد رسوز على أرستينير مغنياتو تبابع عازر لو نبور من نبورنات ناي زقنات هادز مفتقار وصباح بس ولده ونكو دحري وقت قويه خطفت بيه قال تبعيلوس تحكم الناس بزح سقم توستني رقدنا مزلاق جميرين هذا حاجه قلت ولا كنت بداي ازيو خمزي كل سب انت حتقبر مساعات اني هذا بلا زلو عينت فلبت قبره خاطر تستاي مترافات راح يكون حج يبزحني رد تسمعتكم مثل زغونات تنسي تنقدامو زت انسا بزحن تشنقن يحريونا بولاد مس بصحاون تقدامت بتقول عاون دارغا خمزي بجاز توفي هصاني معناتو تفقره ركب الكات صبينا خا طيفنا بكستاي كملسالو زقلا كعبيو كنت تحلنا انت منفسن دلو غين سمعك ان بيت حدا الله تبهرياوي فقري بهرياوي خستاي الله بتخالقات زصقطن نغرال اب مزلاق ابزن زاربلو دنا وان كمص كلخا بتحدث زغدفو دفاع الله شو احد سب اب دفاع زي قداسي وسلازت بتحدث سمعيتنا الله بتحدقا اتودب تخولو ناي مدمساس زلو عابي ورارات سلاز نبره ناتن هلاو ونبعلو بحدق الله ملستن قول عام عباي بتحدوقن نسنن قلعان تودبن استفعل قنات كابت حدا حجي ابز تقرقره قناتات الله سرزلوا سي انسي اب ساعات زي اي مرص نخون بدليت انسي استغبره درغا اي نبرن شعو مستزمدناتات زغبرون اتي زغاطمت انسون بز غانن هنا اي نبرن مسلني ግን ነቲ ሽዑ ናይ ምእላይ ዓቕሚ ዝፈጥሮ ጸቕጢ ትሕክምና ትቀለ ቀሊል ኣይኮነን ግን ቀሲሉ ተማሓይሹ ድሓር ናብ ንቡር ክሳብ ዝመጽእ ግዜ ወሲዱ
ዛራ ዓይነት ማይ ስለ ዝነበረ ንዑ ከውሕን ገለን ምቹእ ናይ ሕርሻ ቦታ ከማን ኣይነበረን ሓመድ ግሒጥና ገለ ግሒጥና ናብኡ ከም ዝመጽእ ጌርና ኣብኡ ጀርዲን ጌርና ማለት እዩ ጀርዲን መለዛና ቆስጣ ጉዕ በርበረ ጌርና تقول عفرينا دروني وقعتنا خم نسدد كمان غيرنا شو زغير ما كيش عسي كم حدا نطفت ندي نحنا كله مطمطن كوينس نحنا بزمزم قولوا دي انت حبينا توايلو قوع مسفري بخشا غير كان يحكمنا برجيت غابا خيترفا غابا بزحي فرين يرشو غابا خيترفا ارينا نوقع سديدنا كمزي رانشي خمز رانشي مالتي شو حجتي وقوع غابان نوصل كلنا انت منفسنا مسقوم يزلو غابا مزانا قع خنو اتقع فيتامين سي خنو سم كمان زلو وينا نزلنا احنا نشتو صابركيتنا اينا نزلنا حجي انتي اكايدان انايتن قدامو دقنسيت نبرنا خنا ولا دحرينا زمصا نحنا انت دا اوليدنا خمزه ابابا خطبت كاب قدما غنبا تفلينا ودبسي بارالايز كوكو نسمعك انت بارالايز كوكو انت زخونه ነገር እንቅፋት ከጋጥሞኻ አነ ተኸይዶኮ ጓልገደላ ምሳይ ተካይተይ ማለት ጓልገደ ተኸይዳ ወይንላ ማለት ግን ሽዑኹም ይተሐሰብ
ንውላድ ኖ ኢልና ንሕና ኣብ ጎን ብጾትና ትጎድል ኣብ ድፋዕ ትግዳዕ መስርዕካ ኸይትሁሉ ኣብ ድፋዕ ትግዳዕ ጋንታኻ ኸይትሁሉ ሓይልኻ ኸይትሁሉ ኣካል ሕክምና እንተኾይንካውን ዝሕክሞም ወጋኣት ሲኢኖም ከይሞቱ ኻንበሪ ኣነ ውላድ ወሊደ ዳሕራይ ንድሕሪ ናጽነት ፍሁሉ እሞኒ ተኣልየኒ ከም ሰበይ ከዓ ከምስለኒ زبل حنقول أي نبرنا
هذا تي ولاد الكاخ تحسب كلا خاسي ولاد نتحر ولد كاس كوف كتب لي خا كاب سرح كت عنك فيها ስለዚህ እዚ ስለ ዘሎ ትስራሕ ኩሉ ግዜ ዓብላሊ ተራ ኣለዎ ኣብ ሂወትካ
ሕጂ እንድሕር ጠኒሰ ግን ኣብኣ ነብሰይ ክትጅራ ይባዕል
ናትካ ውላድ እንድሕር ኢልካ ከምታ ዝበልናያ ኣነ ንዓይ እንድዩ ውላድ እኮ ንዓኻ እዩ እንድሕር ንዓይ ኢላ ኣነ ሓንቲ ንዓኣ ሓደ ንዕኡ ንሕር ኢሉሲ ክንዕወት ኣይንኽእልና
ሕጂ ኣዝዩ ከቢድ እዩ ነይሩቲ ወሊድካ ኮፍ ክትብል ማለሲ ነቲ ከምዚ ድኸዳዕካ ኣነ ባዕለይ ከምኡ እየ ገይረ ድርድኦ ነይረ ስለዚ እቲ ውላድ ዝበሃልሲ ቅቡል ኣይነበረን እቲ መርዓን ወላዶ ገለ ዝበሃል ኣብ ሓንጎለይ ስለ ዘይነበረ ብጣዕሚ እውን ስጋብ መጨረሽታ እየ ዝቃወሙ ነይረ
ኣነ ብነፍሰይ ኣብ ገድሊ ክወልድ ደስ ይብለኒ ውላደይ ከላሽነ ይብል ነይረ
እናተይ ክልቲኡ ማህረምቲ ብጣዕሚ ከቢድ ስለ ዝኾነ እቲ ናይ እጋር ከምኡ ክገብርስ ኣብ ሓንጎል ኣይመፀለይ ነይሩ ምክንያቱ ኣብ መዓልቲ 7 ግዜ እዩ ዝወድቕ እታ ሓንቲ እታ ፀጋመይቲ 8 ፈርቓን ሴንቲሜትር ሓፃር እንደገና እታ የማነይቲ እታ ኒካ እታ ብርኪ ዓይኒ ብርኪ ስለ ዘየላ ዝኾነ ነገር ትክፍ ተብሎ ቁልቁል ኣፈ እየ ዝድፋእ
ባፅዕ ኸያተና ኣብ ምክልኻል 18ና ክፍለ ጦር ዝወፈረሉ ኣብኣይ ኣነት ሓንቲ ንመራርን ተወቃቑ ማለት እዩ ኣነ ኣብ ዶሚ ተሃሪሙ ተስፋ ሂወት ርእሱ ተሃሪሙ ኣብኣ ሓደ ንኩዕ መራሓይል ነይርና የማነ ወዝኽ ኣውፂና ማለት
نتا بطوف دفاع كأنيات تملس بصيتهن ورا دفاعن أو زلو بصوتهن سلتم تسألن بهنك أوتين تصبيع مسمت كأ كل عينة ناينا فقط حتوتات مسودة قال على خير كابزاز غني الدحان دوتيا منقص كده كاب كلهم دقان تنازي ذكر كيو تخارج ديو زبل حتوتات يزنبالا انت خوني كاب تزفرحو اي وصال بزحات أزين زفوتو أمن زناف أمن بصوتن كمستسو يفلت أمو زيادة كل معالتي نفسني صلعة أزين كأ ينصر صرا
ንዕዘብ እዩ ዝናይ ምባል ኣሎ ዝኾነ ተጋዳላይ ካብ ድፋዕ ድመፀ ከይርአን ክሕባእ ኣለዎን ምክንያቱም ካብኡ ርሒቐ ኣልጊሰ እንድየ ዘለኹ ብሰንኪ እዚ ጥንሲ እዚ ኣልጊሰ ኣለኹ እቲ ዘምፅኣኒ ዕላማይ ኣይማላእኩን ኢላ ትሓስብ
ንፅልጅ ተቐይረ ከመይ ገይረ ኣነስ ከመይ ገይረ ጠንስ ልክ ኣነ ዳርጋ 7 ወርሒ ወዲ ኣብ 8 ወርሒ ብተጠንቀቕ ሰበለ ካብ ድፋዕ ወልደ ካብ ድፋዕካ መኻሲ ክድዓት ከዲዕካ ብፅወትካ ትኸይድ ከም ዘለኻ ከምዚ ምስላማት ፀላኢ ኮፍ ጌርካ ካትርዶ
ጥንሲ ምስ ኣጋጥመኒ እንታይ መኽብለክ እየ ማለሲ እታ ህይወተይ ኣይሕለፍኳን ግን ሓደ ኣማራፅን እቲ ጥንሲ ክውስደድ ኣለዎ እዩ ሕጂ እቲ ናይ ኣደን ውላድን ቆልዓ ምስ ተወለደ ስጋ ክንደይ ነቲ ቆልዓኻ ከዓ ዘይትጭክን ኣደ ኣብኡ ከዓ ትሪኦም ማለት እዩ ዋ እንታይ ዝበለ ዳ እዩ ሮማ ሕጂ ጥንሲ ኮይኑ ማለት እዩ ብጣዕሚ ይሽገር ወርሒ እንደገና ትመፅእ ማለት እዩ ዝኾነ ኮይኑ ዳርጋ ከምኡ መፍትሒኡ እንዳጨነቐንን ግዜ እንዳኸደን 3 ወርሒ ገለ ይገብር ትጥንሲ ተርማል ሕጂ ኣብ ዓዳይ ኣቲኻ ንዓዳይ ሒዝካ ጥርጥር ምባልን እዚ ምንፍሓኽ ፈፈው ምባልን ዝሒ ነይሩ
ምስ ጠነሰት እያ ካብ ዕላማይ ስሕተ ኢላ ክትሓስብ ክጅምር ምትናሳስኒ ፀገም ኢላ ድፋዕ ክእትወካ ዘይክእል መውጋእቲ ከምኡ ንዓስ ይኸብዳ እምበር ከምዚ ውላዳ ወይ ከምዚ ናታ ፍቕሪ ዘለዎ ኣካልሲ ኮይኑስ ኣይስማዓኒ ንዑያ ትፀልኦ ዘላ ነቲ ህፃን ዘይኮነስ ነቲ ካብ ዕላማ ኣትሪፍዋ ዘሎ ነቲ ንዓስ ከቢድዋ ዘሎ ነገር እያ ትፀልኦ ዘላ
ምስ ተወልደ ግን ተጋዳሊት ኣደ እንታይ እትብል ተወሊዱ ብሂወቱ ትብል እሞ እንታይ ይረኣያ እቲ ምፍላይ ካብ ብፆታ ይቕፅል ከም ዘሎ ትርዳእ ቁራሕ ሕዝና ድማ ሕጂ ዝኸፍ ክንብል ኢና ማለት እዩ ዝብል ስምዒት ይመፅእ
ዝኾነት ጓል ኣንስተይቲ እቲ ናይ ኣደ ሓላፍነት እቲ ናይ ኣደ ሓልዮት ኣለዋ እዛ ተጋዳሊት ከዓኒ ዋላ እኳ ኣብቲ ገድሊ ከም ብፀይቲ ማዕበቶም ኣወዳት ትኹን ዘን ኣት ሴም ታይም ከዓኒ ከም ኣደ ሓላይቶም እያ ዝኾነ ነገር ትገብረሎም ንዖም ትሕግዞም ኣብቲ መዓልታዊ ማሕበራዊ ሂወታቶም እቲ ንሶም ክገብርዎ ዘይክእሉ ትምልኣሎም ሰብ እያ ናይ ሓደ መስርዕ ናይ ሓደ ጋንታ ኣደ ኮይና እያ ትነብር ዘላ ነዚ ሂወት እዚ ከዓኒ እዚ ምጥናስን እዚ ቆልዓዝን ነዚ ናይ ብፆታ ፍቕርስ ይቃፀፅ ኣሎ
መቸም ውላድ ሃብቲ እንዲ ውላድ ሓድጊ እዩ ውላድ ሃብቲ እዩ ሕጂ ክወልድ ዘይደሊ ሰብ ዘሎ ኮይኑ ኣይስምዐንን ብፍላይ ከዓ ኣነ ቆልዓ ፈቲ
ሕጂ ውላድ ዝፀልእ እየ ዝብል ሰብ ሓሳቡ ጥራሕ ውላድ ኣይፀልአኒ ሓዳር ኣይፀልአኒ
ነቲ ውላድ ምስ ደሊኽዎስ ኣይረኸብኩም በዚ ምኽንያት ከዓ ውላድ እንተዘይረኺበ ኣብ ሓዳር ክነብር እውን ስለ ዘይክእል ነዚ ሓዳር እዚ እውን ሓደ ካብ ዘፍርሶ ጠንቂ እዩ
ዘይትመውት ዘይትሓምም ሃገር ስለዚ ወለድኩሲ ዘይወለድኩ ኣይብልን
ክወልደሉ ድኽእል ዕድላት ነይሩ እዩ ዋላ እኳ ፀቢቅ ዝኾነት ትዕድል ግን ኣይተኸኣለን ምውላድ ኣይተኸኣለን
ክንወፅእ ከለና 6 እንዲና ወፂና 6 ወፂና ንሜዳ ግን ኣጋጣሚ ኮይኑ እቲ ሃዋህው ኣይሓገዘን ከምዚ ክንገልፆ ዝፀናሕና ማለት እዩ ዳርጋ ኩላ ክልተ ኣሕዋተይ ደኾነ 4 ወሊዶም ኣለዉ እምበር ሓደ ሓንቲ ኮሚት ኣይተንከን ኣነ ንበላይ ነሽቃ ፈፂምና ኢና ማለት እዩ
ኮይኑ ካብ ተረፍ ስውኣት ህልዋት ኮይና ዓዲ ኣቲና ማለት እዩ ምስኣተና ብውላድ ከዓኒ እቲ ውላድ ብውላድ ክንሕተት ጀሚርና ጥራይ ዘይኮነሲ ንዓና እውን ቀስቂስና ውላድ ሲ ኣነ ንዓይ ደልየዮ
ምክንያቱ ኣብዚ ሕብረተሰብ ከዓ ኣብቲ ብዘይ መንነት ናይ ቃልሲ ክትነብር ከቢድ ነይሩ ሓደ ተቃላሳይ ክትከውን ኣለካ እንተኽኢልካ ሓደ ሓያል ንፉዕ ብሉፅ ክትከውን ኢኻ ትፅዕር ኣብዚ ከዓኒ ሓደ ወላድ ጅር ዘለዎ ክትከውን ከዓ ትደሊ
ስለዚ ተረኽበ ግን ዓቕልኻ ከተፅብብ ሕሉፍ እዩ ኖ ትምላኣሉ ነገርሲ የብልካ ሕሉፍ ስለ ዝኾነ ኣብ ሕሉፍ ሓንጎልካ ክትበፅበፅ ዘይወለድኩ ኢልካ ክትሓዝን ክትበኪ ክትኩርመ ኣነ የብልካ እንድብል እምነት ዘለኒ ተቐዳማይ ዓላማ ወቂዕካ እንዲኻ ድልየትካ እንዲ ነይሩ እቲ ድልየትካ ተፈፂሙ እዚ ካልኣይ ድልየትካ ግን ክፍፀም ስለ ዘይተኻእለ ንዓኻ ብሓንጎልካ መፅኡ ክርብሸካ ልክዕ እዩ ስለዘይ ወለድካ እቶም ዝፈትውኻን ዘፍቁሩኻን ዘይወለደት ኢሎም ይሓዝሙ ቤተሰብካ ይርበሽ يعرف تغير البشر إذا كان حلو فيه
أسا نعي كل حدار كجبر كاب قدمات تدلي كم زدي تجبري معلش بخلي دحر ناس أنا بس غنات كده تجبري أنا سقفتيني أقدم فتيني سلزمات أنا سقفتيني الصغة كده تجبري نعيد أنت هاي تفلت أنت هاي كم دلنا أنت هاي تفلت تبلني أنت هاي يدلوا خي برهات الليل زخانة الله يجعل الله خير نايبلاينش كم زبلك خاد فريلنا كم زجبر نبلا خان يسأجمنا إني أنا تعطوا يا تبلك أي وي كم زلني ويقالي أي تبلكني صح نقول أبوملو أبصرح سقاب ذات مال حميمة ندقت خيب أبصرح لا زين يعني راكب تحرين دا أما دمت هو ألهم حنقوله ناي بحقي ما كلها نينا رسيعنا يعني هي وات ناس رسيعنا يعني الساجن كاتم ألف نهيوات أدرسعنا
نزي اتخالق مسواتي إلى متوعكو نزي مولادنا نبصحة أودت إنستيو تقادلتي ولادن ترغيبا وين حادة السوين أبدا حراي تتريهم كلها وين حادة زسعنا الله
سخي مستي حسكي زعتخي كالي كبرتات توغازا غيزو زمام أكون تدالي سلازخانكي زخت أفأكد عمو زدكونكي نجر عني مالك باي زي كان بوزح تقالي سين سترقي بس كيدو لجنا خاب زح كرتاتي الكاكا همتي نايك قداماي تسعيرو خاني زغلا تنسقاته فطيرو كيدو سالساي غزي هيدو بدحرين هيوت كسغاي تباهيله دريسي
انا تليفوني دويامو تاخم تبلك غسل يا اخي دس لنا انا حجت كنت طلعتي يقول انا من غزاسي
حجس سموكاي لا تدلي تلا اخ تدلي على تدلي الله قصليات الراء تدلي جن كله كنتي هيوتنا نيرتراي لنا تقالينا ذهب ناسي ما هتسألنا ونبقى اسقاسي سبيخة غزا طبيبو غفيحو ايكونن مسخا بينخا افتا غزا چرو تبل كوفيلكا ولا عندك كتحمم تخل موتكا حنساب نديا حميمكا محمامكا زفلت ندحر ديبلكا انتا خوينكا زبل ديلي ما يقبلكا ندحر ديبلكا نبعلو إلال سبسي بمزنقة عيدنبش ولا كالي سب ولا تكذي كوني شاخد طبيقو أدد بلكي وي انتاك دليل بلكي ما يقبلكي قلز بلكي مع الكذب بلكي تدليقي هناك بين خندي حرقينكي كل جزء عبي تحسبي زي كوني تحسبي هلو لو يخاطبل بحق خا حماقي صموا عتا بقدة تحجي حجي تناولات نايس دراما جعجعلت أنت جنتاي تبلانا دي حانت معك تسمعتني وي لا تخيتان حتى ليش نيخك لتي عندك خاطي ملك فلاي كاجا ولا عطب كاجا تبلان راعي مالتي وي تبلادي وا هذه تاي عقبك اي واتيا قنا ناي محرت قالي انتي قرب ودي لني تبلا حجي أنا نقولك قل لي تاسس إلا يتركون تخلي وإيه عندي إذا خدام من عرعي بينتم تصمس لك ولا زي أطلع أنا ها مد أنت عنك أنت زي ولدكم هاي أجماله نهاجر ندين وزي بزي ولاد فركم هلاهم بنات محرت والي تايم هلاهم ولوت لنا ولوتكم أجمع يبلون أنت زي وليدها هاتم بصتي تسوي إنجاز أدي أندي رأيك بل فاتي هسأليكي نهاجر هبيا أنا ما هسألي جعت عسلاني إيه
إن شاء الله كده قوتي لك عندي خطفتن اجي دي مقباتي ناي بحكي وستايقرني ولا أوتوبوس ويهقل ذكرمه نبعث مصر كوكاز أصور زي كساي نيرني بتمجمر تاسي ناي بحكي سمعنا نيرين
ومولا أنت نعم ميدان فلت أنت قادلت خماناسي إيتي حجي ولاد زي بلن وما ولاد زي مهلا وكأني إيتي تستخف لمسوقة كلا أي مسوقة يسمعك تقول يسمعك سلامتي يدي يسمعك مخانكو يكونتن مخانكو يكونتن يسلنا تنز مخانتكو
أنا بولاد درجة زي بصحة فلاي أنا جمرتها استسلفها عسرت حمشته أنا يمولاد أدمي أبوس لا تتقفل بوزحات بزي ولاد كترفا استرفع مهلون بقص يسون بصراحة مزاربلو نقول إنه ممكن طب سبعة هم مش تنكسر تسعة حدا عسر شو عسر شو عاد مو عسر شو مونت استسلفت ولا ثلاثة شو مونت أربعة أبز بس حاطر له وان تي عدلتي خفيف لازم أبز أرستزق نزارب كلنا مسوعته أزيو خفيف
عبي مسوعتي شلا إرتراح شلا ناتنات شلا توم نحنا فرينا جلنا بنتاح جرس ولدنا منشات استخف لواقع
زين بقر حدا خافت تجادلي تادي سلنا تنت سخفلوتو رزين واقع
بحال زوارارس تصنعنا سلازولوس كلنا صنعتنا ناي بحق تقنزاخم زلو يزغل زلوهم بر اب صنعت اتيخا كم تاغوال حزباو غنبار صنعت يله
مهرم ترسلو ناي حيقولو ناي اغارالو كل نفسي تاريمت እንደገና أنا سقول أحتفلون إلى أن دحرق حاسب جميرة أبزيد الله سقين أبزيد الله حمام يقعدوا مالك صار نتا حنقولي رجعتكم هو منتي أبكم أحاسيبة أيفلني تتعصل مهنيات يبدأ
تجادلي تادي ولا كعد من سنة أصلنا سنة توفيها نولد مسبها قطو ترخبون تزيك قالت نتزبجس علامة بقبق واقعة بانديرا سلزولدت جن نسموها بحبنيات بدهم
زمت نجار سلزيلو ده نفسي زك على سان زبدهان زلهم برب لك لغو أبتسمع إذا عتين دحرق زارب كل ما خصل لي مالتي حمم يا مالتي حجك كاب حمامن كاب كادن كدحنا ندحرق لنا زان نفسي بعليه زد عائسة بحلوف ديو بهلو ديو سرح يعني سرح يزوعل كنسب سلزي حدا قابتي موازل حنانوي سرح كون كديو اتخالد ما كم تبقى لي تقالي سنعت أنا زمت أخذ نفسي لك على سعر سلامتاي زغيريو سلامتاي كخمزو خوينا نزب المرسي كاب سباي صبيني بعلي سلازوسنكم مسوستي تقاليسه كرخبو كمان كم زي كده سلازا امن زردان تقاليسه حجق عن نفسي يمينه يمرش الله
تتوقعت بان شطو سدوت عني علامه وقع سلازكنكو اجيبك الى بخوم يا حنقولي يمينه دخيلني
مرير نديو جن داي مسلك بعلخا خا نفسها ختمنا هتكلا لك اكو سنكلانا لوز جددي ولادي بلومن تعنا بلومن بعربي ام خدو عبد الله ما يخدو احنا حجي ازي اكو انا دي
انا علامه وقع علامه لا دا يركبكن وخلت نجر بحنسا يركبون ملكا نفسها خاطر دقاس
حق حد تحري انا سمعنا نجر يعني مخنياتك زعبيت علاماتي وغير كان ديها قوم خقات انت اقدني مخنياتك بس نجري على خلقنا نفسي تحسبين قليل ني دحراي تحسبي انا قرسي اي نبره
وهمزة تبلك كده له قامت بعناي بزاتيدي ولا تاني حسلا زلا سقا فيجي يصل له سقا بتاع ما يدلها من ابسكي تنبركفو عقم يشاريح خنبري باليتين ارترا ونحجي استرفت من هوتي وتلا
الله نديو سمعك حجي صمام مسقاطه مسي ابزا چوچو بوتا اسمنت زاهرب
እንታይ ይረኣየካ ቆልዓ ይረኣየካ የለን ግን ሕጂ ብሓንጎልካ ገለ ስምዒታት ትመጽእ ነዚ ምስ ነብስኻ ትዛረብ ስለምንታይ ትብል ስለምንታይ ኢልካ ግን መልሲ ትረኽበሉ ሰብ ትደልየሉን ኢኻ በቲ ዝረኸብካሉ መልስኻ ትዓግብ ረሰረስት ሓንጎል
እተን ኣሕዋተይ ንዓይ ድመስላ ህየ ብኡ ገይረን ተሰውኣ ኣለዋ ከይወለዳ ከየስተማቐራ ከይወለዱ ኩሎም ብሓባር ከየስተማቐሩ ኣነ እኳ ርአ ኣብ ልዕና እስቲኒ ይዕሊልኒ ንዓኣን ደረቕኻ ኣነ ሞራል ገይረ ይኸይድ مش السنة قال له أنا ون وكأن دي دبلت إلينا ذا نفسي مورالن حبه هدايا كسب زعل تديا اللخوف واللخوف كمان
لذي سي باتي زرخبكو وناصنتسي أزي عقبتي أزي كرأتي يحب انتي كمان قرمك أزي يحب انتي لذي سي أتي سلز تقادلكوس أي ولدكون إلى زد عسن انتعشمو ፍጹም
ህዝብኹን ብሓበንኪ እዩ ዝኸርዕ ናጽነት ስለ ዝወለትኪ ተጋዳሊት ኣደ
All right, so thank you for sitting through that documentary with us. I'm getting ready to hand it over, but one of the things that that film reminds me of is a quote from Layla Khaled, who was a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. And one of the quotes of hers that comes to mind is that I have learned that a woman can be a fighter, a freedom fighter, a political activist, and that she can fall in love and be loved. She can be married, have children, be a mother. Revolution must mean life also, every aspect of life. So hopefully we will be able to come back to some of the themes and issues raised in the documentary when we get to the Q&A. But at this time, I'm going to hand it over to my comrade sister Moremi, who is going to take the lead on this next portion of the program.
Greetings, Africans, greetings. I'm having a little technical difficulty here, but we're going to move forward. As pointed out, my name is Sister Moremi, and I'm so pleased that all of you guys who came in this afternoon were able to join us so we can continue to ponder and to look at and to think about the role of women, of youth, of men in our struggle. To be sure, the role of women continues to be debated, continues to be struggled over, and continues to be understood. So this afternoon, we will have several women representing various liberation movements, various progressive organizations who will share with us a little bit about their struggle and their take on the role of women in revolution. If you have any questions, you can please feel free to put them in the chat room so we can make sure that the women who we have here and any others will get a chance to look at and think about the questions that you ask. I'm not sure, I know one of our presenters is here already, so I'm going to bring that person on. They're a little out of line, but I'm going to bring them on. And we have from the Cameroon, Naya Celine Tayemu, I believe that's her name. And she's with Mewort Co-op out of the Cameroon, West Africa. Sister, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay. Bienvenue. Bienvenue.
Thank you. I speak but English, I'm not French.
Oh, okay.
I'm from the English-speaking Cameroon.
It's all good, because you know the kind of colonial influences that we've had, we're liable to speak anything up in here, so that's great. So this will make it even easier, my sister. Are you ready to come on now and share with us a little bit about your struggle in the Cameroon? Each of the speakers will have approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Again, if you have questions, put them in the chat room. Okay, I was made to understand that they're all here. Okay, I wasn't sure. So I'm gonna let the sister come on, and then we'll go to the Friends of the Congo next. So Sister Tayemi, do your thing, sister.
Yes. I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Are you speaking to me?
I'm asking you to go right ahead and make your presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. You have called my name. I think you have spelled it rightly. My name is Anaya Lekunze Celine. I am from Cameroon. My organization is called Mundani Believing Women Roots and Tubers Cooperative. This is a grassroots women organization who are fighting for the right of the woman and the girl child. In Cameroon, it's not easy with women as far as land grabbing is concerned. And you know, now the soil is destroyed. So we are talking about agroecology. So those are the problems that we are going through. But I want to say that behind any successful organization, any successful country, you must have women who are standing behind the country to fight for the revolution of the country. I want to say in Cameroon, we have women who are also in politics. We are trying our best, fighting for the rights of the women. And in Cameroon for now, at least 30% of the women in the administration now in Cameroon are women. So our country is moving ahead. I want to say concerning African liberation, it's us, it's Africans that have to liberate Africa. No other person else can come to liberate us. It's Africans who have to fight for their rights. Nobody will fight for the right of Africans. It's Africans who have to support one another. No other person can support us more than how we can support each other. We have to fight for the rights of Africa by Africans, by supporting Africans and Africans supporting Africans. I was very happy when I had the message that I have to speak. I've not prepared any message. Reason being that I was out of the country, I was in Abidjan for COP15, a conference on degradation and climate change. We have been there for 2 good weeks. I came back last night and reached here at 3 a.m. in the house. I have really been tired, so occupied. There have been no time for me to do anything preparing for this program. But I want to encourage all the women that we have to rise up and take our place as women in Africa to fight for the unity of Africa, to fight for the development of Africa, to fight and see that we are united, because united we stand and divided we fall. If we want to succeed in anything, we need to be united. We need to love each other. We need to work towards the success of each other. If we are fighting against ourselves, we cannot succeed. I will never be able to succeed. And we should be able to take care of anybody that is bringing separation among us. Because what is killing Africa and we cannot develop is that when we want to be strong, people come in and separate us and bring us division and bring us war. If we can be able to look for the solutions of this crisis, these wars here in Africa, here and there, that is when Africa will be united and African can fight the war, can fight our liberation, can fight our liberty, and make us proud to be whom we are. Africans are proud people. We have more than enough. We have everything we need to be developed, but we are not united. So I want to end by saying that unity is the key of everything that we want for Africa. We have to be united. Those in diaspora should think of what they can do in Africa to bring Africa united so that we can unite together and build Africa to be a strong continent. Thank you, my sister. I don't know what I've taken more than the time. Thank you very much.
No, you are fine, sister. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions for our sister, you can put them in the chat room now. She'll be around for a while, so hopefully she'll get a chance to answer some of your questions. At this time, we're going to invite our sister Sherry Amore Dickerson from Black Lives Matter organization. She will bring some words to us also regarding the role of African women in our liberation struggle. And she will also just tell us a little brief thing about the organization that she is representing. Sister Dickerson, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon, Ashe family.
Ashe.
I hope that you are able to hear me okay.
That's good. It's good. We can hear you fine.
Okay. Wow. First off, happy African Liberation Weekend season. This is a lifelong journey. And liberation, you cannot, I believe it was Audre Lorde who said you cannot have liberation without community. So I thank you all for being in community with me today. I am Reverend T. Sharia Moore Dickerson, and I am representing Women's March Oklahoma. I'm on the board of Women's March National, but also serving today as the lead organizer and founder of the Black Lives Matter Oklahoma City chapter. So we bring you greetings from the middle of the Bible Belt, where we celebrate Blackness every day, but we are living under the tyranny of oppression in a way that many don't understand what it is to be in such a red state. We work around the systems of dismantling the systems of over-policing. We work around decarceration, criminal justice reform, but I am an abolitionist. So we also are about literally burning down and destroying the systems that continue to destroy and eviscerate African communities throughout the diaspora. So I believe Lee asked me to talk about kind of like what it is that we do and why we do the work that we do here in this area, as well as a lot of the issues that Black women are experiencing within the United States. Oklahoma has been, unfortunately, #1 in incarceration of Black women and women of color for over 25 years. So that is a focal point of the work that we do on changing laws, changing policies, and have them stop criminalizing literally our bodies and continuing the systems of enslavement to tear apart families. They do that from every way of when they incarcerate a person, when they begin to have a felony on their record, especially the mother, they are tearing apart the nucleus of the African family. They take away her rights to be able to mother. They take away the rights of being connected in the community. They are destroying the maternal relationships with children. And so we're having to learn how to adapt. Another thing that they also do is that they take away the voting rights. And a lot of times your voice is your vote and you don't have the ability to participate in that type of civic engagement. So the systems to literally destroy the Black woman is consistently, it is strategic. It has been done for over 400 years. And we're just saying that we're not going to take it anymore. And we are organizing, we are mobilizing, and we are focused on continuing to do that work. We will continue to do that. We also do a lot of work globally with the International Sisterhood of African women and women of color. We spend a lot of, I have spent a lot of time with Dr. Brown, my sister Layla, in Venezuela. And one of my icons and mentors and those that I follow was a Venezuelan militant communist activist by the name of Argelia Laya. And she always inspired me. I will bring up one of the things that she said. She says, I have never allowed anyone to humiliate me as a woman, as a Black woman, or as a or as a poor person. So she talked about the power of the people and organizing women. I always say, Black women, we birthed creation. Surely the world should trust us enough to be able to sustain it. Black women should be in power in every aspect of each system. We should be in your government houses. We should be in your places of worship. We're already leading in families. And so truly, if they allow Black women to lead in every instance, we surely would be in a much better place globally. There will be much more love, and the tenacity of the Black woman is something that should be honored by all, but more people would understand literally what it is to be nurtured by the spirit that literally birthed creation. I'm not exactly sure how much time I have, so I don't want to go over. But I am here for questions, of course. I want to thank everyone, one, for allowing me the opportunity to speak, offer our love from here, Oklahoma City, the Bible Belt, and say to all of my sisters, I see you, I love you, I uphold you, I stand with you, and liberation is something that they cannot win or cannot accomplish without us. Ashe, beloveds.
Thank you, my sister. Your comments again just bring forth the whole view of Pamoja Tutashinda. Together we will win. Together we will win. And the work that you guys are doing is part of that ongoing struggle towards the liberation and unification of African people under scientific socialism. Prior to you speaking and right before you spoke, there were questions regarding Pan-Africanism and who is African? What is African? And so we want to again remind everyone that, that we're African people, okay? And we should realize that the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism must be a primary objective of Black revolutionaries throughout the world, because we know that when we achieve that objective, it will bring about the fulfillment of the aspirations of our people, whether we're living in Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, United States. It will bring about the aspirations of our people worldwide. So we are all Africans, and we have a responsibility to understand what's happening and what has happened in our struggle for liberation and unification. And so again, Sister Sherry's point, her presentation brought that point home. And then also Sister Tayami, she also underscored the importance of that. At this time, so we can kind of get on time, we're a little bit behind, but it's all good. We're going to invite the Community Unity in Action, CUIA, Sister Lynetta Thompson, who will speak with us next.
Thank you. I am just so inspired, and I'm just truly honored, Brother Robinson, to just always invite me to be a part of these events, and again, happy anniversary. And I'm just thrilled again. My name is Lynetta Thompson. The organization that I'm representing or I'm a part of is called Community Unity in Action, which is a coalition of different organizations that have actually come together to, identify areas in our community that we target, to bring resolution. We deal with reentry, housing, food deserts in our community, just different things. I consider myself a community activist because the thing is, if we don't take ownership of the things that we need to do for ourselves, why do we look for others to do that? One thing that he had asked that I speak on the role of women in revolution. So I just kind of wrote that down and just kind of gave my own experience. So just to stay with the time and stuff, I wanted to actually read it, but I was inspired by that video and just, just this event, just the women and our struggle is universal. I mean, it is. And as the sister was sharing earlier, we cannot divide ourselves. And the more of these events and we talk amongst each other, and this is, because I bring you greetings from Richmond, Virginia. Okay, let me share with Richmond, Virginia. And I'm just excited. But anyway, the role of the women in revolution, my perspective is just to take control of that we see and know to be threatening to our families and to our community. We must become intellectually engaged by creating a platform through social media. We must be that one creating awareness. Either, like I said, for some people, they can't get out, but if you can't get out, you use your voice through social media, because that is the format in which we live today. Or either, as well as, joining yourself physically with others to just make sure that our voice is heard. We have to be that microphone. And we don't have to create a new platform because there's so many platforms out here. We just need to take hold. We just need to energize ourselves and not look to do it, but just to join ourselves, because again, it's all about uniting. It's about unity. And what I find is when we do it, as we speak, others have that same passion, but sometimes they don't want to be the first one to speak out. So they will join. So we must be that microphone when given an opportunity in many cases. And like I said, if we don't have a microphone, but we see the issues, we got to create that microphone. We have to do that. Many of us has become revolutionized, not because of choice, but by force, all right? Because it's about survival. And, survival is always the key to our aggression. Threats to our family, friends, and liberty, to just having a safe and wholesome life. When those things are threatened, that becomes the enemy. And we have to take hold of those things and not just look to see what others are going to be doing. Because we as women, we must be conscious and we must ensure that we maintain a balance, to our struggle. To any struggle we are being confronted. And as I was getting from, that video, family must be primary. A lot of us, we don't just go out and do it because, we just want to be seen. It's because we have to protect our children. We have to protect our households. We have to protect, our lives, because family covers a multitude. I don't mean your immediate family. I mean our community, our people, and we must know our value. Because many of us, I know, in this country, we have been indoctrinated with a lot of wrong teachings, and we haven't been exposed, many of us in our Black community, to strong male leaderships and male headships. Okay. In many of our communities where our husbands and our sons have been victimized by a racist and unjust legal system, we have had no choice but to stand and perform whatever role is necessary. Because we have to refuse to believe the lie and adhere to their norm that portray a picture of our men being less than or being inferior, because we know that they control that narrative and they're in positions of power to create that narrative. And if you don't take hold and be conscious of what media says and what's put out in front of you and do your own research, you would just become victimized to that and saying, putting down your own people. You really just take on what they say versus knowing who we really are. So my passion and my involvement speaks to the fact that I know that I can't expect others to do more or nor to provide justice in areas that, I live in, that we live in, that we can do for ourselves, because it is our fight. So, we must be conscious on all levels. We must raise our children, we must provide structures in our home, and we must seek out knowledge, because we are the first teachers and we must embrace our roles as caregivers in all aspects, whatever that might be. I know for me, reentry, is a real passion for me because I know that the criminal justice system is a real unjust system. I worked in it for 22 years, and it was there that I went in and I had to indoctrinate myself to all that had been in me about how bad we was and why we were in there. It's just a lot. And so I'm saying that to say that, that promoted me to take on the issues, especially in my community, when I realized how the laws and the rules just kind of, perpetrated that miseducation that I actually got out of our school system. So, in my closing, I just wanted to say many of us as leaders and revolutionaries are grown out of our frustration of injustice and the misrepresentation and the lies that have been told. And so through our organization and through the things that we do and where I partner myself, you can't partner yourself with everybody. You actually have to look at the work, and then you have to just take hold of that and just be a part of the change that you want to see. So that's pretty much what I wanted to just speak to. But I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful to just be on this platform because and women, we have always been the backbone. We have always had to work. We've always been that voice. I mean, it make it seem like, we just starting something. We're the foundation. And so that's pretty much what I want to say. But also for those that's in this Richmond area or in this state, our organization will be having a community day next Saturday on May the 28th at the Community Flea Market Community Center on Williamsburg Road. And that's a hub where we have over 50 just Black entrepreneurs under one hub that deals with workforce development, that deals with financial literacy. Because again, as I said, we have to create the change and be that change that we want to see. So I want to thank you for that opportunity, and I look forward to the rest of the program.
And we want to also thank you, my sister. You brought it back around full circles. We started with our sisters from Eritrea. Now, some may think that the whole discussion was around childbirth and feelings of betrayal when sisters have to remove themselves, at least physically, for bringing our children, into the world, all the way through what this sister here was talking about in terms of the work that we have to do in our communities.
Yes.
Right about now, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. If you don't have questions, then I will read some of the questions in the chat room. But I'm going to open up the floor for questions and answers from the first set of panelists. Okay, I will read one of the first questions that were asked. It was basically talking about when we talk about Africans, who are we referring to? And any of the panelists can speak to that. Okay. What are y'all's thoughts on how many Africans view African Americans? In other words, the question is, we're talking about African liberation. Who's African? Who are we referring to? What population is the main goal of this whole African Liberation Day activity? Any of the speakers are free to speak on that.
So Marmy, can I ask? I got a question. What can sisters, because just like with some brothers, a lot of sisters, since the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement, and a lot of sisters were deterred, and so today what we see where sisters think that they have been liberated and they think that they have equal rights, because they see the Kamala Harrises, or they see themselves in big corporations and big businesses. So they think that they are now a part of the system, right? So, how do these sisters, what direction do they need to go into? How do they get involved into revolutionary consciousness, into revolutionary organization? Or even, it may not be revolutionary. Some of them might not be ready to go that deep, because there's a difference between revolution and progressive. So even how do they even get involved in progressive organization?
So okay, that's a good question, brother. I'm going to ask any of the panelists to speak to this or anybody who is listening on. First of all, any panelists would like to respond to the brother's question?
This is Cherie. I would say to the brother that just spoke and asked those questions, it seems slightly presumptive that I think Black women as a whole and those that are part of the Yahya Divine are well aware that we still have ages to go before we have achieved true liberation. We are not, we're well aware of the work that we need to do. Are we welcomed or have we made amazing strides? Yes, and everyone has their role, and we always need someone, and there always needs to be a Black woman in the room, in every space, to change literally the culture and the vibe. Whether or not you identify as progressive, moderate, or revolutionary. Everyone has value, everyone has space, especially Black women. And for far too long, it has been very deliberate and intentional to exclude us from those spaces. So one of the things that we need to do is make sure that we are walking in solidarity together, continuing to uplift and exalt one another, because being a Black woman, it is a difficult journey, but it is one that I hold with such honor and joy. I love being in the skin that I am. I love working with other sisters, and that is across the total diaspora of Black femininity, however you fall on that spectrum. And so all are welcome. We also need the support of the brotherhood, holding space, making space, and acknowledging the fact of the journey that we had, because as we said, we're stronger together, but we know that we have work to do, but that's as a collective and global community. It's not just isolated to those who are women, Black women.
Yeah, so I was asking because, you know, and what you said, like, you know, a lot of sisters know, and that's, you know, conscious sisters. But there's a lot, you know, and as an organizer, that's why I'm asking, because as an organizer, when you try to speak to sisters about these things, you know, if I'm in a barbershop or the beauty shop, you know, I mean, you hear it. Sisters, oh, I'm not oppressed, I'm not suppressed, I'm free. I'm free, I can do, you see what I'm saying? And so you hear these things, and then when you try to bring them into this type of understanding, they just shut it down. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just speaking, you know, for that type of sister, not, you know, because everyone doesn't have the same level of consciousness or understanding. And a lot of us don't understand our material or physical condition, especially when a lot of things are being handed to us, you know. So, you know.
They may or may not. I think, I'm sorry, sister, some of that is a trauma response.
Yes.
When we are continually dealing with the trauma that comes from within community, deals with that outside community, and still trying to sustain communities. And some people do feel, some women may feel like they are free or liberated, and I will never speak against or disparage a woman for standing in that, her truth. Everyone is at a different place. And when you walk into enlightenment, the process is not the same for everyone. So everything that we have to do has to be done in a very loving manner. And sometimes love does come with an aspect of truth that is necessary, but it should always be done in a kind manner. And so I would say, don't engage in debating with them, even if you disagree with where they feel like they are, because that just takes away that feeling of community. And some Black women often feel attacked, and that they are being demeaned or belittled or neglected. And so they're standing in what they're saying simply because they're saying, this is, I have gotten to this space, however, my journey has, and do not discredit my experience. But I think some of what you're hearing is also trauma response.
Okay. Did the other sister want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that what I'm finding is that, and the brother is, that's a really good question, because a lot of times we as women, we want to belong. And what happens, or what I've found, that we start movements, we start joining with other groups, and a lot, and even with not speaking, I'm speaking locally, I'm going to speak about what I know about here, that sometimes our movements get co-opted. They get co-opted by others having agendas, not our agendas. Some of them look like us, but they don't have the same agenda. They come to the table to speak our issues, but then a personal agenda come up. And if they're in the right position, they co-opt it, and we never sometimes get it back for a while. And so if we are not conscious and intentionally being conscious and intentionally creating unity, and that's where we strive. We work towards like-minded. We have to become like-minded, and we have to be intentional, not even about liking each other sometimes, because what we try to focus on, or what we do focus on, is issues. We have issues in our community. So we work around those issues, which kind of take out the personality when you are fighting for that, what it is that we're trying to get. And then and the other fight that we're fighting, I'm saying here, public, what the media is so powerful. It's powerful. And if you don't have the connections of not being connected to the negativity of, how do I say it? There's so much negativity about how we don't like each other, we can't get along, and all of those things, that it overpowers the love that we do have and the unity that we are working to create. Because it's a lot of things going on underneath that don't get to the surface, because the powers have more, it's so co-op. I don't even know how else to use another word. And I know this sister know what I'm talking about, but we have to be intentional. That's why I'm very excited about this type of, conversation, because it's our conversation that create our power to know that I got this sister over here, I got that sister, because as we pull that, the rest of us will come. Okay, because we do want better, because the issue is our children, is our community, is our parents, is those that we know we have to take care of, because we are caregivers. We have to take care of us, and we've been doing it for years. Like she said, that's what we do. But don't give up on us, and believe we need our brothers, because again, like I said in my presentation, it's a lack of having strong men presence, because we have strong men. Okay, we have strong men. But that presence, and then that headship in the homes and in these, organizations, these communities, because we have to recognize that the enemy is attacking them. We got to recognize that, so that we can be that buffer as well, and not be that attacker of our men.
Thank you so much, my sister. As I've listened to like a lot of the comments that have been made so far, it just reinforces the notion that as women, we have to conduct our struggles internally, individually, but we have to also align ourselves up and hook up with conscious groups of African men and women, as each of you are already a part of. And one of the things that we talk about in our organization, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we have what we call canons of Nkrumahism. These are just some concepts that we use to guide our work and our activity. And one of them has to do with humanism, which refers to what the sister Sherry, I think, was referring to. the use of humanism when we deal with each other, and looking at collective work and responsibility. They sound like Kwanzaa words, but they're not. They're revolutionary words that came to us through the work and the experience and life of Kwame Nkrumah and others. So I would also encourage everyone, sisters, as we work in our individual women's groups, also make sure that we are part of a group of all of African people, men, women, and children who are working for common goals. Because in that way we can like see, the connections or the lack of connections among and between us that will prevent us or that will motivate us towards our final goal. I understand that we have.
So let me ask Mormi, why you pausing? So listening to both sisters speak, and then maybe I can possibly hear from a sister from Cameroon too. As male organizers, what is it that we do to help? I mean, we can't put women in their position, in their roles, but how do we help them to solidify each other? How what is it that sisters need from us? What should we be more doing as male revolutionaries to influence the African woman and to strengthen the relationship, the revolutionary relationship, the hormonal relationship between the African man and the woman, to bring about that emancipation? What is it that you all as sister organizers need from us as brother organizers to make this a more harmonious relationship towards the objective of Pan-Africanism?
Okay. Well, we'll take a few comments on this because then we have to move on for the next section. But this question will come up again and again and again because we're on here to problem solve. That's why we're here this afternoon, to problem solve about the African Revolution. But one thing I was saying in my mutedness was the importance of joining an organization. We need to be in these sister organizations for real, but we also need to be in organizations with our brothers, our children, our elders, if you will, looking at these ideas, debating over these ideas, assessing what's happening in our struggle, the successes as well as the failures. We need to be able to do that, to join an organization that you feel is working, for the good of your people. Did any of the sisters on the panel like to respond to the question the brother just raised? Sister Tayami?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, would you like to comment on any of the questions that have been asked so far?
Yes, let me comment on the last question.
Okay.
I want thank you for giving me the chance again to speak. I want to say that there is a saying in our country, in Cameroon. We say that behind a successful woman is a powerful man, and behind a successful man, there is a successful woman. So women cannot succeed alone without the men.
That's right.
So the men really have to take their place to support the women in their activities, in whatsoever thing they want to do, in development, in fighting for the rights of the women, the rights of the child, the rights of everybody. The men have to stand behind the women. And I want to encourage the women also by saying that we women, when we are giving rights, we shouldn't take more than what we are given. At times, women speak more than what they have to say because we speak too much. We speak without reasoning. My prayer is that we, the women, should have wisdom and knowledge in whatsoever we want to do, in any activity that we want to carry out. We should hear much and speak less. We shouldn't be speaking more than what we hear, because at times we have problems in our community just because we just speak at random without thinking of what we are saying. I thank our brother for asking that question. My desire is that the men should stand behind us and give us the supporting hand that we need to succeed, because together we will succeed and divided we will fall. So we need each other in African revolutionary. With us to succeed in African liberation, we need each other so that we can be powerful enough to do what we want to do, to achieve what we want to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sister. We're reminded that the place, the role of African women is behind our men, beside our men, and sometimes in front of our men. Whatever is necessary, whatever the revolution calls for, we have to be prepared to assume any of those positions, but we do it collectively in the spirit of humanism and revolutionary thought and spirit. We have some comments from a few groups who could not come, but they sent solidarity statements. And we have our sister Susan, who is going to read just a few of those before we move on to like the next section. So please join me in welcoming Sister Susan, who will read some solidarity statements.
Thank you, Mommy. The first solidarity statement is from Penny Williams, and it's the power of Indigenous women on the front line. Akukini, peace. With gratitude, I greet you. My name, Penny Gamble Williams, an enrolled member and spiritual leader of the Chippewa tribe of the Wampanoag Nation of Massachusetts. I reside in Maryland on the land of the Piscataway, Hanoi, Na'atuk people. This is the place where the mighty Chesapeake, Pontiac, Anacostia, and Panchacut converge into the Atlantic Ocean. Since the new people invaded Turtle Island, Indigenous women have been on the front line to protect children, elders, and Mother Earth. From the Arctic, Canada, the US, Central America, South America, all of the islands, Africa, India, Asia, and the islands in the Pacific, women have had to fight for respect. Today, we are all faced with so many life challenges. As Indigenous women, violence, war, loss of land, food insecurity, poverty, missing and murdered women have only gotten worse. The more our Mother Earth is trashed, poisoned, and stripped of resources that should be left in the ground, the more likely Indigenous women, elders, and children will be abused. Colonization and corporate greed rule the world. Standing up for the earth and women will shift the energy. Understanding our connection and relationship to the earth and to everyone will be beneficial for the survival of humanity. There are a lot of women who will not stop working to protect the children, elders, and the water. The power of Indigenous women on the front line will not stop. One earth, one love. Thank you. Blessings to you all. Akukni, peace. Penny Gamble Williams. Give me one moment.
You guys may remember Penny was at our ALD a couple of years ago, and she was awesome, you know, representing members of the Native Indigenous population here in the States. Okay, you go right ahead, sister.
Yes. And this statement is from Haiti Oi, statement for ALD, Nakba. Haiti Oi sends revolutionary greetings and congratulatory wishes on the occasion of African Liberation Day to the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC, and the All African Women Revolutionary Union, GC. Further, we extend our firm solidarity to our Palestinian brothers and sisters upon the commemoration of Nakba. In addition, we take this occasion to honor and express our solidarity with Indigenous peoples around the world. The struggles for African, Palestinian, and Indigenous liberation are hallmarked by tremendous courage and unyielding perseverance. These movements have shown time and time again what people organized to fight liberation struggles can accomplish and serve as sterling examples to inspire others who follow in their wake, including our own organization's efforts in Haiti. It is an honor to be included in the African Liberation Day Nakba program. We remain in conscious and purposeful solidarity with these struggles and stand ready to act whenever and however needed. Shirley Pate, Haiti Oi, May 14th, 2022. This statement is from Jafar. It says, "Dear brothers, sisters, and comrades, our joint dedication to freeing our peoples from imperialism, colonialism, and Zionism is an oncoming struggle against the common enemy. Our aggregate struggles witness many accomplishments and victories and some severe setbacks, highlighted by assassinating our leaders in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. Yet the struggle continues due to renewed dedication of new generations of determined people to carry the torch of freedom to the end. It is crucially important to carry out the armed struggle to realize the broader objectives of defeating colonialism and Zionism. But more importantly, it is to be dedicated to a just cause worthy of sacrifices. Our revered Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso warned of African leaders to challenge the Western debt choking, the continent's stability and independence. In a speech to the African Unity meeting in Addis Ababa in 1986, he called for cancellation of our foreign debt and say our debt will not be paid. Ignoring his revolutionary vision, African countries consequently surrendered their autonomy to the European colonists, increasing their debt size and denying the new generation's decent living standards. Sankara was universally acknowledged to be incorruptible, a trait found in Africa's giants, Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and many others. They, in the aggregate, were not known for empty revolutionary rhetoric and cliches. Rather, they were committed to acting and directly confronting Western imperialism, driven by a resolute commitment to justice. Our generation owes a tremendous debt to those. Our generation owes a tremendous debt to those leaders before us, determined to build alternative future free from colonial oppression. Since Sankara's murder in October 1987, social advances and progressive changes he initiated were revoked. And by 2014, Burkina Faso was considered one of the poorest countries in the world. Sankara's legacy endured all these years, however. On this occasion of African Liberation Day and Palestine Solidarity Day, we salute our heroes and comrades who fought against colonialism and Zionism, both ills challenging our collective aspiration to freedom and independent development. In Palestine, a faulty leadership vision of accommodation with the enemy has led to more lands being expropriated, more people jailed by the Zionists, and loss of hope only temporarily. The enemy's dedication to its goal of cleansing the land of its righteous owners has produced a negative effect, leading to more popular engagement and the will to fight, as evidenced in the daily confrontations encompassing wider sectors of society. This is certainly a bright development and a fundamental addition to the global structure against oppression, colonialism, and Zionism. The legacy of our murdered leaders continues to guide the current path of struggle until our aggregate goals of freedom and independence are achieved. And we have one more. This is a message of solidarity and greetings for African Liberation Day, James Patrick Jordan. The Alliance for Globus Justice sends a warm, fraternal greeting to the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC, and the All African Women's Revolutionary Union, GC, and to Africa on the Move on the occasion on the 64th African Liberation Day and the 74th anniversary of Palestine's Nakba Day. The struggle of African people in their home continent and all over the world has not just been an example to all other people in all other liberation movements. The truth is that African people have led the way in the fights against colonialism, slavery, global capitalism, and U.S. imperialism. We not only express our solidarity, but our thanks for all the lessons we have learned and the inspiration we have received from A-APRP-GC and all those who are waging the battle for African liberation. The Palestinian people have struggled against colonialism and empire for thousands of years, and they continue forward today. Palestine is a land and culture bridge that has linked Africa to Europe and Asia ever since Africans set foot on the first long migration to other lands. It is right and natural that African Liberation Day and Nakba Day are celebrated together. Palestinian liberation is intimately and historically linked with African liberation. The same way, internationally, we recognize that no one in the world can be free until Palestine and Africa are free. In closing, today we celebrate African Liberation Day and Nakba Day and express our provide solidarity as we walk side by side on the path to international liberation and the better world we are all dreaming of and working towards. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. Again, these are solidarity statements from various brother sister organizations who could not be here with us, but they did send words. So we're seeing that. First of all, we want to thank the militants from Palestine organizations, Native American organizations, Eritrea, Haiti, the United States of America, i.e. Oklahoma and Richmond, should I say, and the Cameroons. I hope I have everyone who sent us either a message or who participated. We want to thank each of you for being a part of what's taking place right now. And what I want to point out is that we are a part of a process. This is not an event. This is not a May 22nd event. This is a process that we have been a part of for years, and we will continue to be a part of. We are encouraged to continue rather to mobilize, organize, and harness the collective energies of our women in particular and our people in general. And it is in the spirit that we will continue to celebrate African liberation this month of May. And we want to encourage you guys to make sure that you check in on the other panel presentations that you'll hear that will further illuminate some of the comments that have been made thus far. And then the ones that will come after this, after I hand this over, again, illuminate, enhance, and hopefully re-energize all of us so that we can continue to do what we've been doing, but do more of it. With that being said, okay, thank you, Neha. Neha said goodbye. With that being said, again, any questions you have, put them in the chat room and we can still shoot those questions to the representatives. So in the event that they would like to come, if you put them in there, put your email address. You might get an email back from one of the organizations and or from the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to our sister Layla, who opened up for us with that exciting video from Eritrea. And we go to the second part of our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Moremi. Before we transition, I did just want to quickly address the question of who is African. I know that we as people use a number of terms to refer to ourselves, whether that be Black, African American, and other things at times. But we, the A-APRP-GC, are of the opinion, belief, that is the same as our sort of intellectual forebearers, Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Kwame Touré, that we are Africans whether we were born on the continent or in the diaspora, whether we made it into the diaspora by choice or by force, and that no amount of time or distance or tangible physical connection to the continent erases or removes that part of our identity. And so we continue to claim that we are African more, just as much, if not more, than we are a member of the nationality of whatever countries we have been taken to or have gone to. So I just wanted to briefly address that. So before we transition, we want to share just a brief cultural presentation. This is an artist. Her name is Somi. She was born and raised in the US, but she's of Rwandan and Ugandan parentage. And she'll talk a little bit about this, but she studied under Miriam Makeba and Hugh Masekela. And so this is just a brief presentation. She'll talk, I'll start it where she's talking a bit about the song. So I will play that.
We're gonna do, I wrote a song inspired by Nina's Four Women. I'm sure many of you know her song, Four Women, right? Right? Okay, just checking. Well, for those of you who might not, she wrote this song at the height of the civil rights movement. It tells the story of the stereotypes, the struggles, the strength, the survival of the Black woman living in the United Civil Rights Movement. It tells the story of the stereotypes, the struggles, the strength, the survival of the Black woman living in the United States at that time. I wrote a song called For African Women, which also is about the stereotypes, the struggles, the survival, the strength of the African woman living everywhere and anywhere. And what I love about Nina is she's always willing to tell the truth, even when it's difficult to hear. So this is For the Truth.
My skin is black. My forehead is long, long. My hair is woolly under this wig. My back is strong. Strong enough to carry on after genocide and all my family gone, gone. All my family gone. What do they call me? What do they call me? My name is Gatsinzi. My skin is pink. Used to be black. My mirrors and my magazines made me discarded Western bleaching creams. It wet my skin and self-esteem. What do they call me? Beauty queen, beauty queen. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
My hair is fine, my hair's still invite you, and my mouth still tastes like wine. I hope this European trick can get me a visa, not get me sick. What do they call me? A show. What do they call me? Statistics, 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 what do they call me? What do they call me? What do they call you?
Brother Lee.
What do they
Brother
call
Lee.
you? What do they call me? What do they call you? Woman, what do they call you?
All right, so at this point, we're going to continue on with our scheduled speakers. And so in the order that I have, the next three speakers will be Empress Chi of the Million Woman March, and then we'll have Pan Africa of the International Family and Friends of Mumia, and then Gloria Verdidu of the Socialist Unity Party. So first we have Empress Chi.
All right, I wanted to share the presentation, a brief presentation, but at any rate, that kind of throws me off a little bit. At any rate, my name is Sister Empress Chi, known as Empress Filet. And yes, I am the founder, originator of the original Million Woman March. Before I begin, I want to thank this wonderful, wonderful organizing for this African Liberation Day week. And of course, my sisters, you're doing an excellent, excellent job. I give thanks for all of you. I want to also give a special salute to my brothers, Brother Lee Robinson, Brother Bambozi, Brother Bob Brown. I heard some of the sisters mention earlier about, or the brother had asked, what can brothers do? And interestingly enough, those are three brothers I just mentioned that have set the example. Whenever we have called on them, they have shown up in whatever way they could or needed to. And so again, we can really give some examples, but on the other hand, it has not been easy at all in these past 25 years. And I say that because, and unfortunately my presentation addresses this, we have to start dealing with some of the internal contradictions. And some of the internal contradictions not only deals with the issue of attempted global white supremacy and its dynamics, but internally, the sexism and classism within our own units. And so with that said, we've got to begin to seriously look at that a bit closer and do some things about it. Now, with MWM being the largest gathering in the world of any women anywhere ever, you would have thought that particularly our women here would have embraced it, given the fact that we demonstrated not only the ideals, concepts, and capabilities of self-determination from the grassroots up, not only were we local, national, and international with bringing in Mother Winnie Mandela, with making certain that our sister Assata Shakur's message was read in English and Spanish. So a new generation was introduced to both of these wonderful, powerful women, both visually, physically, again, bringing 2.5 million Black women together physically, not just virtually. It was another 10 million virtually. But the point is, we talk about what we need to do, but yet when it's right there in our midst, we have to really examine what do these words really mean in reality. And so for 25 straight years, note, we have provided for 13 years straight a communications apparatus for any of our people to be able to come in, share their information, share their views, etc. for 13 straight years. So here in the US, in doing the assessment of what's going on with our women and girls here in the US, while we simultaneously look at what's going on throughout the diaspora and connecting those Black dots in that manner. But yet, we're finding here in the US, there's less attention, particularly from our women when it comes to the issue of rape, molestation, sex trafficking, kidnapping, and needless to say, murder. Look at the situation of the last murder by a so-called cop here in the US. What is being said about it now? Even when it happened, it was minimum in comparison. And so we have to ask ourselves as women, as African women, what types of networks and mechanisms are we putting in place on the ground level, as well as expanding it all across the board? What responsibilities are we taking to do that? And so this is, again, one of the challenges that we now present to our women today as we bring forward the Million Woman March 25-year anniversary and prepare for our first of 3 major summits, which will include the US. It'll be a summit for African women. Then we'll be going to Central America in the following year. And then the last one will be in Africa. These are organizing tools. These are mobilizational tools. These are making certain that issues that is connecting all of us, our women in particular, in this situation, but our people in general, when it comes to the issue of justice, when it comes to the issue of liberation. But again, since we're talking about our women, what are our plans of action? And so again, unfortunately with my presentation, it put that out there, meaning we teach and train our women in the hood, as well as in the university. And we give them information and incentives to also counter negativities. For example, it's often said, Black women are angry, they're angry. Well, okay. So what we've done is to take that anger that people want to claim so much about in a negative manner, and we've now put it in another format for you. And so just like selfish, oh, you're being selfish. Well, we now teach and train. Yes, we have a course called Black Woman Being Selfish. What are we selfish in? We're selfish in self-reliance, self-respect, self-sufficiency, self-governance, and self-defense. So yes, we're selfish. So we have to look at what modes of teaching are we developing? Are we continuing with those who have come before us? Queen Mother Moore. I mean, there's so many. But again, what information are we providing, particularly for our young girls? Many on this line, we can talk about Pan-Africanism and other things. But when you go talk to these young sisters out here, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. Why? Because when we look all across the country and go into our communities, the presence of Black women that are representing from a Pan-African perspective is not very visible. So again, we have to begin to look at what it is we are going to do to actually make certain we are able to, oh, here we are, I got it. Can I just take 3 more minutes? I'm finally able to, hopefully, can I share a screen for 3 minutes, 2 minutes? So in hearing what folks were saying, and again, wonderful, wonderful. Again, I want to give kudos to the A-APRP-GC. I had the blessing to be able to sit with Baba Kwame Ture a few months before he became an ancestor and doing the tradition that I was taught, which is you go to the you go to the elders and you ask them certain things and ask them to review your work, ask them to comment on it. Baba Kwame Ture was kind enough to do so. And in doing so, made sure that I understood that I was okay under a lot of scrutiny at that time. Also, again, organize. So again, with Black women, African women, particularly in the US, and I'm only preferencing that for a very specific reason. We have operations in Benin, we have operations in Ghana, etc. But there's something very specific that we're working on for the US, and at another time, I'll be able to elaborate on that. Brother Malcolm X, since part of today's focus was to focus on Brother Malcolm X, just coming out of recognizing him being born and being an ancestor, one of the things that he made very clear that many seem to dismiss is that the most disrespected person on the planet is the Black woman. I actually said in America, but the point is, these are things that was being addressed vocally, visibly, clearly 50 plus years ago. So again, what are the tools? What are the apparatuses that we're talking about utilizing to shift that paradigm? So again, going with our brothers, we're setting up sessions with Black men. We call them serious Black men, SIRIUS. And again, I'll elaborate on that another time as well. Okay, the role of the African woman in revolution today. Well, needless to say, that we could go all day with that. And as a good sister mentioned earlier, because we are mothers, nurturers, and all of that, we are it and the bag of chips plus. However, we are not combining this in the kind of context that we should. So we simplify some things by saying, educate/edify. Those are similar things, but in this day and age, we have to start examining how we're going to bring things forward. So yes, Black women, African women, we are always about educating. And again, MWM, we make it very clear that we are not feminists. And we have to say that because some have attempted to link us in or put us in some categories that we're not in, at least not in that manner. We support other groups, we support other struggles and all of that, but we're very clear about being the mother of civilization, period. So again, we organize and mobilize, we agitate and liberate, and now holistically doing so. So again, we know how to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And this is our intent, as I heard someone mention earlier. We have a very clear intent. We're dealing with a double-edged sword. We talk about the system of white supremacy. However, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing made it very clear, if we do not understand that system, everything else will only confuse us. So we're breaking some of this down so it's not just theory, it's not just information being regurgitated. We're able to dissect it so that we can have a better capability of addressing it and ridding of it. So we have now what we call a double-edged sword. This is what we teach our sisters or train our sisters or educate our sisters about. Meaning the Black woman is now public enemy number one. Why? Because this system knows that if it gets the Black woman and get them in a situation that they become neutralized to a greater extent, they have immediate and direct access to the child. And that's what's going on as we speak, with this so-called pandemic as a perfect example. And we'll go into that another time too with the vaccine. Anyway, moving right along. We have to look at the increase of Black African women, as we call it, matricide. And with that, murder, rape, molestation, sex trafficking, kidnapping, exploitation, and incarceration. Again, these issues that are happening to our women and girls, what voice do Black women have collectively? Now, don't get me wrong, please. All over the country, our sisters are bad. And when I mean bad, I mean they're doing all kinds of stuff, needless to say. But on a collective, on a connected level, where's it at? With that said, we have to begin to seriously and realistically address some of the internal hypocrisies. Develop holistic, solutionary modes of operations that are local, national and international, and do these things simultaneously. We're in the 21st century. Lastly, one of the mechanisms that MWM in creating the first global movement for women and girls of African descent worldwide is the development of what we call the We Charge Genocide 21 platform. This way, it not only shows the strength of our women and that we're concerned in dealing with our women's issues and girls, but also our people as a whole. We Charge Genocide has 21 areas of crimes against humanity. COINTELPRO, political prisoners, environmental racism, gentrification. These are all modern day forms of crimes against humanity. And since we've studied the great Paul Robeson, Queen Mother Moore, Dr. Mari Obadelli, and others, we are now prepared to move forward. What Brother Malcolm also showed us in 1964 when he went to Africa on our behalf to begin to make certain that we could get recognized and get support for the human rights violations against our people. This summit will be taking place here in the US first in September, Labor Day weekend. Our position is there could be no more discussion, celebration, observance about labor until there's also recognition about the labor of our people, meaning the enslavement, etc., of our people. So there's more family, but again, I know we're probably running out of time. Lastly, of course, my sister Pam Africa is coming up again and connecting with each other. We've met Black women, African women all over the world in these past 25 years. And to keep that commitment of sisterhood and work, we've stayed connected with some of our sisters in these 2 decades. So here in Philadelphia, when it comes to the issue of Mumia Abu-Jamal, we are always here, ready. When Sister Pam calls and doing something, we are here to make certain that we are here to support, and not just with lip service, but in the streets doing whatever we have to do. So next up, Sister Pam Africa, I thank you all. You can go to our We Charge Genocide website. We appreciate any donations. We've never had a grant. We've never had corporate sponsoring. We have demonstrated true Kujichangalia in all of its aspects. So thank you again, my sisters, my brothers as well. And stay tuned to our radio program every Saturday night, New Day, Resurrection and Liberation.
All right. So as was already mentioned, next up we have our sister Pam Africa. I believe she's calling in by phone.
Hey, you on the move?
All right.
Right. Thank you, number one, for inviting us on as always, usual, and, I'm sending regards to everyone in the room and our brothers and sisters, that's, tuning in. Sister Filet said a whole lot of, of what I really agree with. And I'm stuck in a situation where I don't have much charge time on here. But, what got us through and dealing with the work around Mumia and my family is tying all issues together. The housing issue is an issue for inside the prison and outside the prison, as well. And the issue of health, and when you combine those two, and I work very closely with Mumia Abu-Jamal, and he's the voice of the voiceless, and my job is to make sure that that voice get out there. And that's by being consistent and having the understanding that you build the movement based on love and understanding, and the fact that you don't know it all. We're in a process where we're learning every day, and and setting a good example, and if you see a wrong, and you work to correct that, but you have to do it with understanding. A lot of young folks coming into the movement, like I was at one point, I had to move organizations, to care and love for me and bring me through this, with the understanding that this war that's being waged against us, we have got to unite with people who fight, and I go across color lines. I'm saying, I battle front line with people who is going to battle with me, and if you're not battling, to tear this system down, or not making the attempt, then you're someplace else, until you catch up. My job is to, be an example that you want to come in and you want to catch up by seeing examples where we're winning. This government was determined to kill Mumia, with no, and was determined to kill my family inside the prison. We also have to have that understanding. When we see people fall off, we just continue to do the work. And when that person comes back for whatever reason they fell off, is to open armly and show them where we're at now. Because if you fell off 5 months ago, we 5 months ahead. And welcome you in to come on in and join in this battle. And the most important thing, in doing this work, keep your eye on your children. Keep your eye on the children, because we can get so wrapped up into this work as mothers and fathers, consistently. I'm guilty of that. Because people would say, damn, Sister Pam, you here, you there, you're everywhere. And I was bringing my children with me for a while, and then it got to the point that, I'm thinking that, they need to, check out whatever they check out, make sure you check it out with them, and, hold them close to you and guide them through these, through these things. Myself and Sister Sonia Sanchez, and have a situation, and where a whole lot of other ones, your children begin to hate the movement, and behind the fact that you're constantly right there, constantly moving. We understand that we cannot compromise at any time. We understand all the dangers that's happening here. But these young minds, you have to pull them through, with an understanding. But, the most important thing is consistency and love. And, the non-compromising, you can't compromise the air for the Clean Air Act. You can't compromise the water for the Clean Water Act, or the cleaning up the land with another pollution. And you can't trust these stores, whether it's Whole Foods, Moms, or any of these places. And we got to learn how to grow our own. And if you don't have a whole lot of land, take a patch of the land in the front of your house, continue to grow. Brother James McIntosh, he's growing food on top of his roof. He got potatoes, not only on top of his roof, but the land that he had like around there. We can't trust anything that these people are, giving us to put in our bodies. We're paying to put in our bodies the high prices at Whole Foods and Moms. And yes, I mean exactly that. How the hell can you be a Whole Food when you got watermelons with no seeds in it, and cucumbers with no seeds in it, oranges with no seeds in it, lemons with very few seeds in it? You talking about the destruction of your body, because it's destroying the seed in the food of God, the food of life. It's doing the exact same thing to you, breaking down. Do not compromise. Demand that red, black, and green watermelon, over the seedless watermelon. Don't let no store tell you that black folks don't want, I'm saying black folks because I mean any folks, that, people prefer the seedless over the seeded. And, if you got to go an extra, I don't know where, to get a watermelon with seeds, please do that. It's very hard. You can't, grapes is a very healthy fruit to put in the body. They done took the seeds out. You got grapeseed oil, we have got to deal with the issue and understand that revolution is not just dealing with this white monster. Revolution is dealing with the stuff that this white monster put into our neighborhood, duping us into thinking. And they talking about in these health food stores, they give you water in plastic. We've been taught years and years and years that plastic is very dangerous, but yet and still, we will still accept this water, whether it's Fuji or any of those high-priced waters and stuff, in plastic. And think that we're doing something. When I'm trying to think of the brother that did the whole, piece on plastic, and a lot of people, let me tell you, one of the things that we was battling is about water in the prison. We won that battle consistently when my sisters was in, I think it was Muncie at that particular point, because we had wanted to get the guards and everybody involved in the issue of the water inside the prisons. I'm not talking about this recent one. I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago. And, the water condition was really, bad up in Muncie. And, we consistently, we did till we broke them excuse me, I talked too long, I go there, until we broke their backs and they wound up getting the spring water in the prison and all for, inmates and for guards and all, because they wasn't of the understanding that, whatever happens to the inmates on the inside, the air you breathe and every disease that come through, every guard inside that prison, whether they are higher up or low down and all, suffers from the exact same thing. And you got to show people the commonality of, what this monster is doing. They don't give a frick about the cops. And people should have understood that. Them cops should have understood that very plainly when January 6th came here. When they killed them white cops. And don't give a damn about their life unless you one of them cold-blooded monsters, or if you think that you are part of them, let you be on the other side. Even if you're thinking that way, they'll take you out too. So my story is consistency. I was taught by John Africa, to be this way, and to unite with people, Venezuela, Cuba, Palestine, I feel what they feel, the same thing in all our African nations. These monsters are not just satisfied with killing us, their intent is to kill every form of life. These are the mother suckers that have poisoned the air that we got to breathe. They've poisoned the water that we must drink. The soil where our food come up, something that was familiar and clean that God put here. This demon, this monster, whether it's dressed in cop blue, who protect the ones in the blue suits, Judge Black Robe, and I'm saying, all of them are here to protect the politicians, the same, every last one of them. Because right now, every mother should be teaching their children this damn vote thing is a freaking fraud, because if it was right, then damn it, Trump wouldn't be there. And all the people that fall up under him, the criminals that have been seen around the world, the traitors to this thing they call America. When Trump goes over to Russia and sit with Putin and throw all the people from America out, and demons that he brought along with him that he couldn't even trust. They went in and had a meeting together. And when he got off that plane in the United, he was supposed to have been locked the hell up. The same thing that happened right here in the United States, he brought Putin in and didn't allow no American people to be in the room with him. Treason. But he's still sitting there, and this reminds you of how did, Hitler, be able to pull Germany together and do the things that they're doing right now. My husband always point out that when they passed that bill, when they knocked down the John Lewis bill, you had 10 senators that were sitting there that were supposed to be the hell in jail, but they didn't do what they were supposed to do. The Democrats and those Republicans that claim to care about what's going on here in America, they allowed him to go in there and vote the bill down, because if you didn't have them, the bill would have passed. And I'm saying, this ain't, this is their laws. This is their laws. My husband can quote every law that there is. They're not supposed to be there, just like Trump. A Democrat, like Malcolm said, put it plain. A Democrat ain't no damn different than a Republican. But we keep allowing ourselves to teach our children the lie instead of the truth that stands there before you. Want you to keep coming in and, bending down, sucking up to these mother monsters and all, that's destroying everything. This is what I'm talking about. This is the fight that we got to do. We got to understand you're either fighting for it all. Because if you're not fighting for the air, the water, the soil, the people that you're trying to bring out the prisons and things, it don't make you, it's murder all the way across the board. And we got to stop taking and putting things in categories. We got one thing to do, and that's to take this mother sucker down. I want to move.
Thank you so much, Sister Pam. I know you weren't on earlier, but you, in your comments, you really brought together a lot of the different topics that have come up over the course of today, which I think is both on the question of what it means to be in struggle, not just as a woman, but also as a mother, what it means to be in struggle over land, and what it means to be in struggle over our environment, and to be able to eat healthy food, eat real food, and even, a lot of the ways that these movements in the US are characterized the movements for sort of ecological futures are often thought of as indigenous issues. And it's true that the indigenous peoples of the Americas, I think better about a lot of these things, obviously, than the United States of America. But also, we, as African people, we are indigenous to Africa. And we also have our own indigenous ways of understanding our relationships to the land. So I really thank you for your ability to bring in all the things that have come up over the course of today. And thank you for those comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gloria Verdidu. I hope I said your name correctly, from the Socialist Unity Party.
Yes, my name is Gloria Verdidu. Hey, I just want to tell Pam, I don't know if she's cut off or gotten off, but you are, I feel you, and I really, I'm really there for you. And we haven't talked in a while, but I really am just, anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I really feel for you, and I feel what you're saying, and the environment, the earth, the land, and it's just capitalism is just, and it has to come to an end. So thank you so much, and I'd like to say I'm really honored, and I thank you this for inviting me to speak, and I'm going to present my thoughts on the role of women in the revolution today. I'm representing the Socialist Unity Party and Women in Struggle, which is the women's wing of the Socialist Unity Party. And we also have a publication, an online publication, Struggle the Lucha. And that's going, you just put in Struggle the Lucha, Struggles for Socialism. So can everybody hear me pretty good? Yeah. Okay, you can hear me? So I want to begin with a quote that I remember from way back when I was an organizer with the All African People's Revolutionary Party in the 1980s, when the All African Women's Revolutionary Union was formed. This was a time we had intense discussion about the role of women in the party and how to push women to have the courage to speak truth without fear of repercussions, to become full participants in political discussions and critical party decisions. Women are the water of the revolution. Just as life is not possible without water, the struggle for the liberation of Africa and African people is not possible without the full participation of African women in every aspect of the liberation struggle. I don't remember where this quote came from, but this quote is as true today as it was 40 years plus when I first heard it. Through our political education and discussion classes, we read Women in Society by Sekou Touré, Women's Liberation in the African Freedom Struggle by Thomas Sankara, Origins of the Family, Private Property, and the State by Marx and Engels. In European bourgeois patriarchal history, women played a minimal role in the making of history. By organizing political education classes and discussion groups on African history and world history, we learn as early as the 16th century in Africa and what is now called Angola, a woman named Nzinga came to organize armies and wage a war against the Portuguese, which lasted some 40 years. In the diaspora, African women initiated many slave revolts. She was the closest to the master and felt the oppression directly. She not only cooked his food, but she also poisoned it. Still, African women face a triple subjugation as an African, as a worker, and as a woman. She continues to carry the heaviest burden of responsibility and suffers the most, yet she has never let the flame die or the torch fall. She has forged an unbreakable, enduring, and determined will to fight. Elizabeth Key was one of the first women in the Virginia slave colonies to sue for the freedom of herself and her son in the mid-1600s and won. She was followed by many African women who petitioned for their freedom, which prompted the slave owners to change the laws from patrilineal to matrilineal, which meant that the race of the child is determined by the mother and allowed the white men to enslave their own offspring. My sheroes, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells, and many more women yet to be recorded, all courageous and determined revolutionary freedom fighters were willing to risk their livelihood for the freedom of African people. Mary S. Peake of Norfolk, Virginia, taught enslaved and freed Africans to read and write, which was prohibited by law after Nat Turner's rebellion in 1831. Ida Alexander Gibbs Hunt, a Pan-Africanist, supported W.B.E. Du Bois in organizing many Pan-African Congresses beginning in 1919. She advocated for world disarmament and for the appointment of Black representatives at the 1923 London Third Pan-African Congress. Claudia Jones used the organizational space of the Communist Party to advance the cause of anti-racism, world peace, decolonization, and the class struggle. Mary McLean Bethune encouraged women to go to the front and take their rightful place, fight our battles, and claim our victories. In Mumia's book, We Want Freedom, he devotes a chapter to women in the Black Panther Party. He begins the chapter with a quote from Franny Malika Adams. Women ran the Black Panther Party pretty much. I don't know how it got to be known as a male's party. Today, women are needed more than ever in the struggle for a better world for African people and human beings around the world. The struggles that we fought and died for in the 60s and 70s are rapidly being stripped away. We are going backwards. The growing numbers of homeless women, incarcerated women, the attacks on women's reproductive rights, medical care, child care, affordable housing, food shortages, education, environmental and economic racism. These struggles are more prevalent with the COVID-19 pandemic that has killed more African people in proportion to white people in the US. Women must step up to the plate, become more politicized, join an organization, learn more about what it really takes to build a better world for everyone. Women must study the principles of socialism, visit countries that are fighting for socialism, like Cuba, where education and healthcare are free. A country where the needs of the people, workers, children, elders, and the environment are priority. You know, living to be 100 is a goal and not an economic burden to the family. Every issue is a woman's issue. Women must believe that they are the water of the revolution and continue to be active in the struggle for a better world, a socialist world where human needs take priority over corporate greed. So we have to say no to war, no to US war in Russia, no to imperialism, and long live international solidarity. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that both for that history and I think the comprehensive statement that makes it very clear that not only is the nature of women's struggle multifaceted, but that in order for us to really gain our own liberation and freedom, we have to be working towards socialism. So the next, okay, so we have a video from Roima Gutierrez, who is an Afro-Venezuelan woman. She is the General Secretary of the International Platform of Afro-Descendants and Africans, or the International Cumbe in Venezuela. I am going to play this video that she sent in of her comments, and following the video, we will have Sister Erica from Mundo Pacifica in Colombia. Then we'll have Izilidanto from the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network. And then we will have, there'll be Sister Erica, then Samin Royanian from Women for Peace and Justice in Iran, then Sister Izilidanto. And then finally, we'll have Charity Titulu from the West Papa Human Rights Center. So I'm going to share this video now.
Saludos a todas y a todos. La columna más importante del modelo socialista es el hombre nuevo y la mujer nueva. Esas son palabras de un hombre y suena contradictorio, pero creo que era importante traerlo a colación porque estamos hablando de un gigante como lo era Hugo Chávez Frías. Pero además ese gigante se declaró feminista y asumió que nuestro proceso revolucionario es para la construcción de un socialismo bolivariano y feminista. Así quiero comenzar este espacio al que me han invitado y por eso quiero agradecer al Partido Revolucionario del Pueblo Panafricano y a la Unión Revolucionaria de Mujeres Panafricanas por esta invitación. Es un tiempo propicio, ¿no?, para reflexionar y accionar en marco de nuestras banderas de lucha y de una agenda, ¿no?, que nos una y porque además es una lucha común. Y cuando Chávez planteaba ese hombre y mujer nueva, podemos interpretar esa necesidad de deconstruir lo que hemos aprendido de forma alienada, ¿no? Sanar ese dolor de la historia, porque además es una herida colectiva que cuando la sanamos eso nos permite avanzar para lo que viene, sobre todo para las mujeres que vienen, para las nuestras que vendrán más adelante. Aunque el patriarcado, como sabemos, es un sistema que ha intentado ocultar e invisibilizar nuestra historia como mujeres, hoy día hemos mostrado que la mujer ha sido ese eje focal fundamental en las grandes revoluciones que han existido en el mundo y que existen en el mundo. En Venezuela estamos en una transición, en una nueva época, ¿no?, o sea, una nueva etapa que, como ha llamado nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro Moros, nueva época de transición al socialismo. Y nosotras, las mujeres venezolanas en su diversidad, trabajadoras, campesinas, afrodescendientes, indígenas, todo el pueblo mujer, hemos estado dando nuestro aporte con esa capacidad que tenemos infinita para resistir, para transformar, para sanar y también para renacer. En Venezuela la participación de la mujer no es solo una consigna, ¿no?, es un hecho. Y hemos avanzado en la paridad en cuanto a los cargos de elección popular, en los espacios de toma de decisión, en la base popular, porque además de eso las mujeres venezolanas son las que están al frente de las organizaciones comunales, de consejos comunales, comuna, el Comité Local de Abastecimiento y Producción, que es un programa que nace precisamente a propósito del bloqueo y las medidas coercitivas unilaterales impuestas por Estados Unidos. Al menos 10 de los ministerios de todo el gabinete están liderados por mujeres. Nuestra participación en la toma de decisión política en el país es trascendentalmente importante. 2 de ellos, por ejemplo, está el Ministerio del Poder Popular para la Mujer y la Igualdad de Género, dirigido por la compañera Diva Guzmán, y tenemos también a la vicepresidenta de la República, que es la doctora Delcy Rodríguez. Nosotros entendemos, como decía Argelia Laya, que es imposible hacer justicia a la humanidad sin la participación en condición de igualdad de la mitad del género humano. Ella decía que una sociedad socialista es inconcebible sin la total participación de la mujer en un plano de igualdad con el hombre. Nosotras estamos conscientes de eso que decía esa activista política afro-venezolana Argelia Laya. Y por eso seguimos dando una batalla que nos permita trascender de la masculinización de la política a la feminización de la política. Y es precisamente en este aspecto un elemento común que como mujeres debemos plasmar en nuestras agendas programáticas de lucha, y particularmente como mujeres negras, como mujeres africanas y afrodescendientes. Sin duda no es fácil, ¿no? Hay que ser valiente, hay que ser coherente y muchas veces llenarnos de templanza para andar en el camino, de la política. Porque esto implica romper con esa narrativa, ¿no?, presente de una política masculinizada. Pero es necesario andar ese camino, porque vale la pena apostar, ¿no?, por una sociedad diferente, por una sociedad equitativa, pero con una equidad, por supuesto, con perspectiva de género y de etnicidad. Y aceptarnos al mismo tiempo diversos y diversas. Por cierto, esa oración era algo que expresaba el cimarrón mayor, como le decimos nosotros, el profesor Aristóbulo Isturiz, quien a propósito se cumplió el pasado 27 de abril, un año de su partida física. Él aportó de manera inmensurable al proyecto bolivariano, pero también aportó a la causa afro. Entonces la mujer, en su capacidad biológica de parir, de dar vida, también pare y cuida a su patria. Es lo que hacemos y lo hemos demostrado en los momentos precisamente de revolución. Por eso justo hoy, que celebramos el Día de la Liberación Africana, hay que destacar que mayo es un mes bien particular para la reflexión y para la acción, pues, y es lo que estamos haciendo. El 10 de mayo fue el Día de la Afrovenezolanidad, pero el 18 de mayo fue el Día de la Bandera de Haití. Fíjense, ¿no? Es bien interesante hablar de estos elementos a propósito de lo que viven nuestros pueblos africanos y afrodescendientes. El 19 fue el natalicio de Malcolm X y el 20 fue el natalicio de Toussaint Louverture, el líder político haitiano. El 21, Día de la Afrocolombianidad, y el 25, Día de la Liberación Africana. Pero además, en mayo, en muchas partes del mundo, se celebra también, la segunda semana de mayo, el Día de la Madre. O sea, es un mes que está lleno de motivos suficientes para que podamos no solamente reflexionar y hablar de estos temas, sino también accionar. Así que la invitación es a forzarnos aún más para que esas condiciones se den en este objetivo que queremos alcanzar, que es el panafricanismo. Asumiendo esto como una África socialista unida o unificada, donde además tiene cabida nosotras y nosotros que somos la diáspora. El llamado es a construir una fuerza africana y afrodescendiente para dar frente a todos esos terribles embates del imperialismo, el racismo estructural y el neocolonialismo. Seamos indómitos, hermanos y hermanas, en la acción y en la organización. Y así, nosotras y nosotros vamos a vencer. Que los ancestros y las ancestras le cuiden. Abrazos.
Okay, all right. So I know I announced that Erica from Mundo Pacifica would be next. I'm not sure if you're present. Erica, are you present? If not, we can move on to Izili Danzo, because I do believe she is here. Let's see, Izili, you can take the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honor and respect for all of the presenters and the people who present this historic continuation of the fight to liberate all the people and all the disenfranchised. Last year, I spoke about women in revolution, and I talked about the women of Haiti. I run the Free Haiti movement, for those who may not know what that is. Haiti is colonized. And the most important thing to me to talk about in this time that I have with all of you, that I know, is that women, who are the most oppressed people on the planet, but there's another side to this. There's a side to imperialism and white supremacy that I have dealt with as a woman. And it is facing other women who are using their gender, their race, their credentials, and their reputation to destroy or to maintain the status quo. And that's really what I want to talk about today. We all know that Haiti is colonized. We know that the European came back on the 200th anniversary of Haiti's independence in 2004. They've been coming back and coming back. And we have the Dominican Republic to the west of us. And they keep pushing us. They want to push us to the sea. This is what's going on. But let's look at what May is. Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Haiti's founding father, Kwame Nkrumah, Garvey, they all talked about the unity of disenfranchised African people worldwide. I want to say this is so very important in terms of what I deal with. Since Haiti was the first to beat the European powers in combat, the first to abolish slavery, bring up this moral high ground so that it's not something that's the norm, the first to really invent human rights, and we've been paying for it ever since. What I feel and what I see is that when Nkrumah stood up at the African Union and said, at that juncture, when we were having these independence movements for the African continent, he said that the Organization of American States, we should put together that kind of organization that would unify the continent so that there's one currency, one government, one language, so that we could face the Eurasians. Dessalines said the same thing to Toussaint. He said it in a different way. Back in 1804, he said, Toussaint, we have everything we need. We don't have their culture. Their culture puts profit over people. That is not Black culture. That is not African culture. That is not indigenous culture. We are in trust of the planet, and we want to live in harmony with every sentient being. But that is not what profit over people do. So the promise of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Haiti's founding father, who said that, who abolished slavery and who wanted the assets of the nation of Haiti. And we have massive assets to be what we front other nations with. Nkrumah said the same thing. Garvey said the same thing. But if I leave you with anything, it is that the unity that the mulatto sons of France, who helped destroy the Haitian Revolution after they assassinated Jean-Jacques Dessalines on October 17, 1806, they changed the flag and they created a whole new identity for what is called Haiti. And they made the motto, instead of liberty or death, they made it, in union is our force. It's critically important, I think, for Africans to start having a conversation about what does that unity mean? Are we going to integrate with injustice? Are we going to be like the African Union with 54 nations? There's conflict in all of those nations because they did not listen to Nkrumah. Haiti is being destroyed because of the ingratitude to Dessalines, who said the law of the land is we never let them back in, that no white man or European should own land in this space. Now you remember, we only have a tiny little space where Africans were free. Instead, the United States came back in various ways and they changed Dessalines' law. And today they have encircled Port-au-Prince. No, first they have murdered the United States and its puppet mercenaries, murdered their puppet president because he was looking to make strategic partnerships with Russia. He had brought in the Russian ambassador to Venezuela into Haiti, looking to make strategic partnerships. I'm going to tell you right now, for us at Free Haiti, the only solution we see to getting out of the chaos that we're in is not unity. We will not unify with injustice. We will not unify with those who use their race, their gender, their reputation, their credentials to maintain the status quo and collaborate with it. We're not going to unify with the policy where Black folks are put into these positions so that, like Obama, they become the head Negro, K-N-E-E-G-R-O-W, Negro in charge of white supremacy. And this is some of the specifics I want to talk about. What we see is that the dream of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, of Nkrumah and Garvey, does not work right now in the situation we're in the present technological world that we're in. And we have to rethink how we organize. We have these big high-tech companies, 4 big billionaires. They are controlling the narrative. If we don't control the narrative, they dehumanize and associate Black males and women with only poverty, only criminality, only gangs. And that's what they do. So that's why the Ezeli network exists, because I represented the democratically elected president of IET, but when I went there to be of service, I found it was the United States and the European Union and CARICOM and all of these organizations that talk about liberty, who maintain the status quo and are paid and rewarded to maintain the status quo, which is profit over people, which is democracy as its practice in IET at the moment is tiny, 0.5% of the population of Syrian, Lebanese, and Israelis who control all the ports and all the economic doors and all of the consulates. So there is no economy for the masses of Haitians. There is no use of our resources. But what we keep getting is these gender issues, these sexual orientation issues, all of these things that have absolutely nothing to do with what IET as a mass is suffering, which is this imperialism, this destruction of its environment by the hidden taking out of Haiti's oil, Haiti's iridium, Haiti's gold. All of Haiti's resources are being carted out. We are in the Windward Passage. If we got half of the amount of money for every ship that went through that Windward Passage, Haitians would not be in the position they're in. Just that. So I want to look at some of the women who are the oppressors of IET, some of the women in America who get symbolic credentials and they are used against our movement. It's important for people to understand that Ellen Lalume, who is the head of the UN mission in IET, is a 37-year US career ambassador. We have to change our language. These ambassadors are terrorists. They go all through Africa doing the same thing, but they put a genteel face of it and put a skirt on it, and everybody, and it's neutralized. There are 2 women oppressing and terrorizing IET. Ellen Lalume, who is the head of the UN mission in IET, Michel Sisson, who has been in IET since the 80s. They keep recycling these people, and they're the 2. I have, and it goes on, right? The European Union. There was a woman at the European Union who just came to IET and was so condescending. She told us that our problem is that we are not adopting Eurocentric culture, and that's why we are so poor. This is what these women are bringing to us. What do we have? We have murder, assassination of their puppet president by mercenaries from Colombia affiliated with the Mossad, the FBI, the CIA, and so on and so forth. And now, like I said, they have encircled Port-au-Prince with death squads, but they call them gangs because the narrative never changes for the imperialists. We are gangs. They are beautiful, legal people. And yet it is these ambassadors with these careers that have destroyed Haiti, whether it's UN bringing in cholera that kills 30,000 people and poison our water, with all of this. So what do we mean when we say women in revolution? We're not talking about, I don't see the women in revolution because our voices are being destroyed by big tech. Give you the example of Ukraine, right? Right now, there is the Black man in America who just sponsored a bill. And that bill essentially says that African nations will be sanctioned by the European tribes if they support Russia. This is no longer the time of Trans-Africa and Randall Robinson, when Black congressional Congress people stood up against apartheid. Right now, AFRICOM is ravaging Haiti, in Africa, and all these political operatives that call themselves elected officials in America are signing bills, and no one is objecting to essentially sanction African nations who voted in the UN and said, no, we don't want World War III. As a matter of fact, the World War II powers are not anything that has assisted us in the last 60 years. So we will try to make strategic partnerships and deal with countries that provide us with better deals than USAID and its markets for robber barons, like Bill Gates. Like Bill Gates owns the World Health Organization. So what are we doing at the UN? And I always say, wherever I am, as someone who has been in this struggle in proximity with it for more than 40 years now, that the UN has to go. It stands for the colonization. It is a tool of colonization. Just like democracy is defined as something where those who have the most money can buy votes. So essentially, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, wanted to bring up some of these women. For instance, we just got in America the first Supreme Court justice, a Black woman. What is that doing for us? Like I said, they use reputation, credentials, and gender and sexual orientation to neutralize and give us these symbolic appointments, but no policy, no power, no resources. We just have this one young woman I want to mention, Karen Jean-Pierre, a Haitian woman, a member of the LGBT community, and Black. I mean, this is what they're doing to us. Are we going to allow this? So in conclusion, let me say this. I don't care what your gender is. If you're a man and you protect women and children and sentient beings, please come and help us at the Free Haiti movement to lift up the boots of Ellen Lalune, Michel Sisson, and the core group of US ambassadors that are destroying my people. I don't particularly care what reputation, because that's what they're using. So for me, I think we need to make strategic partnerships. We need to leverage what we have in our hands together, not unity with those who don't stand for what we stand for, but unity with those who do stand with what we stand for, making strategic partnerships, scaling our voice. That's what we need to do. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Zili, for that. Maybe, I guess, kind of flip on the topic today. I think it's very important for us to think about and always raise up the fact that obviously as Black people, not all Black people are brothers or sisters in struggle. and not all women are. And I think that's a very important theme that you brought up for us, and to also to continue to look at these international agencies and organizations that, like NATO, like the UN, that are engaging in these in continuing sort of imperial domination of our people. So thank you for that. I want to apologize because I did read the list in order and I skipped over our sister Samin Rayanian, but she will be next with the Women for Peace and Justice in Iran.
I wanted to say good afternoon to all the brothers and sisters, and that I'm honored to be here to celebrate African Liberation Day, which I have been, with for a very long time. I remember in 1979, we had one celebration of African Liberation Day in Washington, D.C. in Malcolm X Park. And as I'm listening to the speakers, I am changing what I want to talk about in my head. I wanted to thank the previous speaker because she really presented a lot of issues that are very important today for women. And I wanted to start by saying that the story of women in revolution today, but Conrad Robinson told me that if, I go through some of the history of it, and I wanted to say that women have always been a very important and essential part of all the revolutions in the world through history. From the women of Lystra, if that is a true story of going on boycott, demanding peace, to women in all the movements in the United States, the African American leaders and participants in the abolishment of slavery and the civil rights and suffragist movement. So women have always been an essential part. It is not possible for them not to be, because women are half of the population. And in addition, they are subjected to the dual oppression of capitalism and patriarchy. And African American women in the US, of course, are subjected to the triple oppression, adding to the other two, the subjection to the racism, systemic racism against African Americans, especially the situation of women. And so there is no doubt about that women have always participated in revolutions and all progressive movements. And in the US, they had to fight for a long time to just get the basic vote of the right to vote, which was given to the white men with the beginning of the Constitution. And now the women have to constantly fight for the same rights over and over again. And the result of that is that we can not really get any of those rights established, because women have to fight for the right of women to legal abortion. It took forever. And then right away in 1977, the Senate passed the Hyde Amendment, whereby it basically eliminated availability of it to the poor women because the federal government money cannot pay for it. And the attack continued for 50 years, so that now they're taking that right away. So every right that people win is taken away from them, because we're still living in a capitalist system. And the oppression of women, just like the oppression of the working class, is a basic component of capitalism. Capitalism is intertwined with patriarchy. So it is not as if we make the men be more polite or nicer or these things, that oppression of women can be eliminated while you're living under capitalism. It is part and parcel of the oppression of the working class, and the oppression of women adds to that and creates more profit for men. For a long time, they had women sit at home and do free labor to take care of home. And then when they join the working class in the sense of earning wages, then they keep them down by paying them more. And still in America, women only make 70 cents to the man's dollar. And it's again, the oppression increases because there is no child care and there's no health coverage, and women don't have any economic rights, really. So what is important is for women, as my sister just mentioned, not to fall into the trap of putting the issue of women ahead of the revolutionary issue, because that is what they distract us with. And they also add more of these issues, as it was just mentioned about gender and LGBT and all the other things, and sex positive, I don't know what that is, and which promotes prostitution as a proper job for women and so on. So that's what they do in capitalism, because they have to keep us down. The same way that racism is systemic to capitalism, sexism or oppression of women is systemic to capitalism. It cannot be separated. So while women should continue, supporting the struggles for winning some rights, but the priority of us should be the priority of revolution. And the only revolution in history that has provided complete rights to women have been socialist revolutions. Because when the socialist revolutions happens and a new constitution comes into place, it gives all the rights to women. For example, in the 1917 socialist revolution in Russia, the Soviet Union constitution that was eventually, they passed a temporary one in 1917, but in 1922, it specifically talks about that. The constitution of the USSR guaranteed equality of women. Women in the USSR are accorded equal rights with men in all spheres of economic, state, cultural, social, and political life. That's it. There's no question. You don't have to fight. And then in 1922, they make abortion legal and free because our health coverage is free. And in 1922, in Soviet Union, they pass a law that makes marital rape a crime in 1922. And so once you have a revolution, which is socialist, which is based on the removal of all oppression against all people, then women win all their rights. Yeah, I mean, there are some cultural tradition left over that they have to struggle against, but in the law and in the constitution, you don't have to fight for the same rights over and over again. So not only the role of revolutionaries and progressives today has to be to put priority to fight against capitalism. As long as capitalism is not overthrown, the oppression does not go away. We can cut a little bit of things off it, and then it comes back. So the same way that the priority of the working class and the masses of people and the poor people, all the people that are disenfranchised, has to be a revolution for overthrowing capitalism. Because capitalism not only oppresses all human beings and continues the racism and sexism, but is also the source of global destruction. Because the global warming and global destruction comes from the overconsumption and overproduction in the capitalist system, which is not for the use or need of people, but it's to sell more and more things to make more profit, and it's overproduction. And while people are hungry and don't get basic food and basic health, even in the United States, but they produce all these plastic things and so on and so forth. So it is the necessity of capitalism for economic growth, expansion, like a tumor, cancer tumor, and it expands with overproduction and destroys the earth. So if we do not have a revolution, so women as a part of the revolutionary movement have to prioritize, I believe we, not that I'm telling other women what to do, we have to struggle for overthrow of capitalism and not fall for all these examples that several of the speakers already mentioned for dividing us and deluding us and having these people, as my sister mentioned, with some kind of credential, giving speeches and then promoting some women from the colonial or countries under imperialism by saying they are such heroes because they theoretically, support the right of women and so on. So we can't fall for that. So these other issues that bring up, as my sister mentioned, like gender and so on, yeah, if people are oppressed, they should not be oppressed. But everybody's oppression is going to be eliminated by the revolutionary victory. But these issues have no class space, no class analysis. So the ruling class supports some of these because then they don't have to pay attention to class analysis of the oppression. And so they make the younger women today, unfortunately, some of them fall for this false feminism or false women movement and so on. So that's the point. And another friend here of Socialist Unity and the friend from Venezuela mentioned that in order to really struggle for this change in capitalism, as some friends here said, that they are carrying this war against Russia by, having Ukraine as a puppet there, that in anti-imperialist movement today, we have to unite on the other side of the line, because there's a line there on, and US and the capitalist countries of Europe are on one side, and Russia, even though now it's a capitalist society, it's not imperialist. So China is not carrying on imperialist actions. So they're on the other side of the line. So there is this alliance of the non-aligned. So anyone who is not with US is going to get punished, as our friend, I think from Colombia or one of these countries mentioned, that they're going to put sanctions against you. So it's very clear that we need to be, as women, understand the line between imperialism and anti-imperialism and work for socialist revolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those comments and for the reminder that one of the primary contradictions or primary challenges that we face is the general destructive nature of capitalism. I think that is something that we need to continue to keep in mind. So our last speaker, unless Erica from Colombia has shown up, our last speaker will be Charity Tutulu from the West Papua Human Rights Center. Charity, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. Thank you to the African Liberation Movement, and a happy day to all. Yes, as we know, kings and queens reign from Africa, right? Right? And my name is Charity Tutulu. I am a woman. I am an indigenous woman from Melanesia and a human rights activist and a founder of the West Papuan Human Rights Center based here in Washington, D.C. Today, the women of West Papua are oppressed, and They are held against their right of freedom, their right that was given to them from generation to generation. Now, the Black people of Melanesia, they were on the islands of the Pacific Islands 10,000s of years ago. That's what the history says. So we know that Black people, we're all over the world. And today, the stories of women and their children, those traditional stories are taken out by the Indonesian ruling, colonization. And women, we are very important in the role to survive, to protect the identity of the people, the ancient Black people of Africa that once trailed to, they came to the Pacific during then. Today they are oppressed. Today, West Papua, the land of the people, the indigenous people, capitalism has taken over, the greed that deepens into the gold mines and the deforestation of West Papua that lead the women and children on survival age. And today I appeal to all of you, to all of us, as we come together as brothers and sisters to work together in any fields of our message on the people of Africa, to let the world know the people of Africa, the people of West Papua must be free. They must be free from colonization. They must be free from Indonesian ruling and all the interests of others who put together in an interest of greed to take over the rights of the people of the Melanesian people of West Papua. So today, I thank the African Liberation for having us. And I'm here today to pass on the torch from my people, the Black people of the Pacific. I give it to you to rally on it wherever you go, whether you enter the House of the United Nations or the Capitol Hill. We are here. We are here and we stand with you. And through us together, we will set the people of West Papua to be freed again. The women of West Papua, they hold on to their freedom, even though it was tempted to be taken out of them. And we know that West Papua is on the New Guinea island on the Pacific. And West Papua, at the moment I'm speaking, is heavily armed with military, the Indonesian military, and that they killed women and children, they rape, as any story we all heard today, that goes through colonization. And all this we want to come to an end. And so our work is to make sure that the powerhouse on Capitol Hill hear about the struggle of our people, and that they will come into terms to free the people and to let the people once again live the way, the freedom that they once had, and they still have the freedom that the women, they told the stories to their children. So it's there, but we have to protect the environment and all of these things, the indigenous rights of the people. And so we know that women and men in Melanesian culture, they work together. Like the sister from Cameroon have said, any success man is a successful woman, and a successful woman is a successful man. So stands behind. So all of this, we need to work together. So I thank you all very much for giving this opportunity to the West Papuan people, and to all my African brothers and sisters here. You know that Black people were on the islands of the Pacific Islands for tens and tens of thousands of years. And we are some of the ancient Black people. And we make sure that our heritage and our way of culture be protected. So I'm here today to stand with you, and I hear you where you come from on your issues as well today. So thank you very much, and yeah, that's all I have to say. If I talk too much.
No, absolutely not. You did not. But thank you so much for sharing that. So before we open the floor to have a little bit of dialogue before we close, I wanted to just share a quote by a woman that has been lifted up actually twice today. I believe Sister Cherie Moore brought her up first, and then Roima from Venezuela brought her up again. And Cherie mentioned that Argelia Laya was a communist Afro-Venezuelan feminist, militant. She was actually born to militant parents. Her father was a guerrilla fighter as well as her. And this particular quote that I'm going to read from is in a book that was a book of her speeches and public addresses and writings that this particular speech came out in 72, but the book didn't come out until 79. But I think even as it's constructed in 1972, and it's particular to the Venezuelan women's case, I think it is relevant to the discussion that we've had today. Venezuelan women are a very important sector of the social forces that fight for a profound transformation of the current socioeconomic political system. It is completely clear that for the exploiters and oppressors, it is a matter of life and death to keep the women of the popular classes deceived, marginalized from politics, and guided by the path of the, quote, false sexual revolution as a path to women's liberation on a strictly individual level. The triple exploitation of women in the capitalist economy, in the family, and in the society, and I would also personally just add in the nature of racial oppression, demands a scientific, particular, specific treatment of their problems, a policy and a direct message that can awaken them, make them aware of their situation, and capable of rebelling against the system. The first step to the true liberation of women is socialism. Equal rights for the masses of women is only possible in a truly socialist society. The full realization of socialism demands the complete liberation of women. It is necessary to awaken, unite, and organize women to fight for their emancipation and socialism. Women are almost absent from the ranks challenging the capitalist system, and it is evident that they do not yet perceive the redemptive message of socialism. This is a real weakness of the revolutionary movement that must be overcome by the development of two parallel lines. On one hand, the need to deepen the knowledge of the situation of women in capitalist Venezuela, dependent and underdeveloped, and thus to advance the ideological discussion of how the Venezuelan road to socialism will equalize women, of how Venezuelan socialism will dignify the female sector of the population in their human rights. On the other hand, together with the theoretical treatment of this vital problem to achieve the deep and definitive transformation of the structures of the country, establish a mass line and new organizational forms that facilitate the active incorporation of women in their struggle for their rights and for socialism. In the wave that shakes the people of today, the struggle of women for their liberation as appears something new and confusing. Even the majority of men do not understand it and perhaps even fear it, even some women. It is the expression of the conservative attitude that impedes the advancement of humanity. Whoever seeks a profound change of the unjust structures that plunge human beings into unhappiness, it is time to assume a positive change of attitude towards women. For the Venezuelan socialist movement, it is imperative to be inescapable. It must not abandon the responsibility of leading half the population in a just struggle of the most oppressed sector within this system at the risk of failure. It is necessary to understand now that the problems of the women's sector are not only women's problems or feminist problems. The battle for the liberation of women is a very important feature of the struggle for the liberation of humanity and the struggle for socialism. The day is not far off when Venezuelan women will have to rebel against the dependent capitalism that oppresses our homeland and against the machismo that denies equal rights to half of our people. It must be made absolutely clear The active incorporation of women into politics and their adherence to the cause of socialism must be the product of intense ideological work combined with combative and persevering action in the search for solutions to everyday problems. Socialists must create the political and organizational conditions necessary for the effective incorporation of women into the political process, and in particular, they must facilitate the participation of the women of their families in the struggle for socialism. Within the socialist forces, machismo is a reflection of the machismo society and an ally of dependent capitalism. This is a burden that must be overcome in order to successfully achieve the victory of socialism and the eradication of machismo in Venezuelan society. So I think that is a mouthful, and I think that it brings in a number of the elements that have come up. And so before we close today, I want to give people an opportunity to either ask questions or make a few comments, or even some of our speakers if you want to speak to one another. So I want to open the floor now.
I just wanted to put out something there. You said it earlier, and I'm just going to put it out there again. If anyone who's been on the program today would like to have more information about particular representatives, but specifically the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC, again, put it in the chat room if you'd like to find out more about who we are and what we're doing, perhaps how you can even get involved. So just take advantage of that chat room. We will be monitoring that and getting back with you. If you do, put your email address and you can send it directly to the host.
Absolutely. I do want to, William, thank you. I just want to make one last call to see if Erica from Colombia is present. Is it Kieran or Karan? Kieran, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to just make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Whoops. Okay, great. Hi. So I just want to say thank you. I heard about this event through Twitter, and I, was able to join in a couple hours ago. So I wanted to say thank you to everybody, and I hope that maybe this will be available somewhere so people can catch up later on YouTube or whatever. Okay, great, thanks. I'm in Canada, but I'm originally from Pakistan, and in my part of the world, I also know that the issue of women's liberation or women's rights has been, the way that it's turned out, where imperialism has both destroyed women's rights, so for example, in the 80s, 70s and 80s, because of the Soviet incursion into Afghanistan, there was this huge push in Pakistan, the CIA and other forces trained the Mujahideen in Pakistan and used Pakistan as a way to bring these far-right, reactionary, fundamentalist, misogynist forces into Afghanistan, but they were trained in Pakistan. And as a result of that, Pakistani women also suffered. The laws in Pakistan were made to be more anti-women. The whole culture became more and more socially regressive and conservative and misogynistic. And I grew up under that military dictatorship that was installed by the United States. And as bad as problematic as the Soviet whatever issues were in Afghanistan, they did the socialists in Afghanistan did start to, for example, open up with education for women, equality for women, and things like that, which was all, of course, turned back by the more and more, like, the Mujahideen came in, and then eventually other things happened, and then the United States actually just invaded and occupied for 20 years. And then so what I'm saying is that it is really important for us to recognize how the empire, the imperialists, capitalists will co-opt feminism or whatever, under these guise, like this sort of intersectional imperialism, just like they do with the LGBT narrative, LGBT rights. I'm queer myself, but the idea that Iran or Russia or whatever country does not have gay pride marches, and therefore that makes them somehow inferior, or somehow we should not be we should be okay with the West, doing their imperialist encirclement or whatever, bombings. I think that there's a lot of food for thought today, and I just wanted to say that as somebody who completely supports and in every way, stands with my Black brothers and sisters, and has taken a lot of inspiration from people like Kwame Nkrumah, Kwame Ture, Thomas Sankara, and so many other Black liberationists around the world. I want to say thank you, and I think this is a very complex topic, and I'm really glad that we had this discussion was held today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that additional context and for being present today. I don't see any more pressing questions. So I just want to do one last thing before we close. I know some people are on now that were not on before. And so I just want to repoint everyone to our website, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC. We have our list of programs for the month here and the links to be able to access them all. So please check out the website and see if there are other upcoming events that will be of interest to you. Ellie, Omani, I see your hand raised.
Thank you very much. I'll try to make this quickly. And I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt your presentation of the future meeting. So I signed up for the email. This was, I think, maybe my second time, but it was years ago. I don't remember, but Samin Royanian invited me and sent me the information. I am so happy that I became a part of this, to see and hear so many class conscious women and men, but speaking and presenting the real issue, which is, to me, and a number of good speakers pointed this out, it's a question, women's liberation, I also believe is a question of the class struggle of the working class and all oppressed people all around the world. So it has no specific country, nation, sex, but certain countries and certain individuals are the leaders. And unfortunately, what imperialism has done historically, and many of the women gave great historical examples, which I was just learning about, of those who have been killed, physically eliminated by, and there are many, and especially the people of color, by imperialism and the class forces. And being able to figure out is a long time struggle for all of us. How do you realize when someone is a class collaborationist? In other words, they could be a fiery woman, a beautiful woman, an angry woman, and you think, oh, that's a real leader. No, a lot of them are promoted and put there by the system to mislead us. And US imperialism, sadly, I believe, has learned that they can't outright, the failures of Iraq, of US war against the Iraqi people, Afghani people, Yemeni people, Syrian people, because we are the Somalian people. And what they're doing now in Africa is terrifying to me, because what the sister Azili pointed out was that they will starve an entire people. To believe that humanity could be this evil. But what I think they're doing is, I think they are changing the mode from outright war participation, although they keep talking about it, but it's economic strangulation. It's using the power of the elite and corporate global financial class to suffocate other nations, any that dare to speak out, like several people said. So I'm happy that I became a part. I hope I can become a part of this, and that I just appreciate all the speakers and all the knowledge and all the love and all the humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those comments. So we have come to the end of our time. And I just want to thank everyone once again. I want to thank all of our speakers. I want to thank all of you who have participated, those of you who asked questions, those of you who didn't, those of you who showed up. And we are the All African People's Revolutionary Party, GC, and I am also a representative of the All African Women's Revolutionary Union. Please look to our website to continue to see some of the other programs. And just a reminder that the call is to organize. If you don't like the way things are in the world, do something about it, and you can't do it alone. So you have to join an organization. So thank you once again, everyone. This video will be available in the future on our website. So it will, all of our programming for the month will be available in that way. So feel free to check out anything at any time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be blessed.